Yo, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I was like, open that mouth. Sure that she's talking and open that mouth. If it say something, we're going it out. And then there's something it out. And then it's got and it's part of this nothing.
And now from an undisclosed location, you are now tuned in to the Xander Effect with host Xander Dames.
That was ACDC's Highway to Hell, and welcome to the Xander Effect. I'm your host, Xander Dames, and I guess that song is aptly titled, especially for 2020. I'd like to welcome everybody to the wonderful show today. I have with me my awesome co-host, Mr. Jeremy Miller. Jeremy, how you doing?
Doing great. It's Friday. How could I not be?
Right. Friday in quarantine. Yay. And of course, we have our other wonderful co-hostess, Miss Lonnie Rivera. Lonnie, how you doing?
Doing great. Happy Friday.
Yay! And we got a great show for you guys today. We also have a special guest coming in today. She's been on the show a couple of times before, but I always love having her here. Miss Amanda Holley has a brand new single that she's going to talk about. So we're definitely looking forward to having her stop by today. But, to start off, I got to talk about something that I saw online actually today, and it has to do with with a TikTok star, Charlie D'Amelio, that apparently got canceled by her own culture. This young TikToker apparently was having dinner with a YouTube star, James Charles, and started complaining that she only had 95 million followers and not 100. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. After she started complaining about that, apparently her followers stopped following her, and she went down. She lost about 1 million followers after that. That's a pretty big hit. And so she basically went on a TikTok, I guess, live or whatever, and was crying and wah, your words hurt and blah blah blah. Here's a thought: get a real freaking job, kid. I mean, come on. You know, you're pretty much just like she was acting like a spoiled brat, talking about that. She was then complaining about the food that she was eating at a very like high-end restaurant. I mean, she was acting like a complete spoiled brat, and this just gets on my nerves. I just don't understand how this generation is so incredibly, undeniably, you know, I just don't understand how they are so spoiled. I mean, you know, we come from a different era. The three of us, we come from a different generation, a generation where we had to bust our ass to actually make things happen for ourselves, and we still are doing so because of that. And the funny thing is that I've actually seen this many times from this new generation. And somebody, there was another TikTok that illustrated what I'm talking about right now, about how generations are different. And somebody commented, a younger person commented and said, well, you know what? I mean, yeah, my generation's like that, but you have only your generation to blame because your generation raised us. And I'm like, you know what? That's actually a valid point. And so, I mean, am I wrong in thinking this? I mean, is it our fault? I mean, or is it their own fault because they just grew up to be this way? I don't know. Am I wrong?
I'll jump in. I mean, I got kids, so, you know, my two boys, all three of my boys actually, you know, we limited their screen time. We did not make, although they were the center of our world, we did not make them the center of the world. And, you know, they didn't turn out to think that the world revolved around them. So do I think there's a parental aspect? Absolutely. But at the same time, but you really got to look at it from this perspective as well. A lot of these kids started, I mean, they've known nothing else but this YouTube generation. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's literally all they've known. They've known nothing but the internet. They've known nothing but this YouTube thing where this is a path to stardom, which is still ridiculous considering how few people on YouTube actually have any talent. You know, there's some great creative people out there making great content, but we also have people who are making millions of dollars by doing nothing but being self-absorbed, ignorant idiots. So yeah, it's not the parents that are sitting here making them, you know, praising them for being morons, praising them for, you know, being dumb, for whatever you want. I mean, they celebrate their lack of knowledge. They celebrate it's just, we're not the ones propping them up. True. You know, we're not the ones subscribing and you know, being sycophantic fans with them. And so, yes, there's definitely a parental aspect, but, you know, it's all these kids have known. If they've been making money at it, they think it's the end all be all of the world. You know, they think that they've made something of themselves. Well, you're making money, but in the long run, 20 years from now, nobody's going to be sitting here going, oh, thank God we had that girl who did, you know, idiotic tutorials where she made fun of other people, and it's no one's going to be saying that in 20 years. They're not. I'm sorry, no one's going to be looking back at any of that type of content and going, oh, thank God we had that. They're going to be looking back going, dear God, people were entertained by this.
Yeah, like they're going to be like, what was I thinking? Actually watching this. That's so true. It's almost like being compared to the clothes that we used to wear back in the 80s, and we look back at pictures like, what the hell were we thinking? It pretty much equates to that, I would imagine. I mean, it's nuts, to be honest. Lonnie, I mean, what are your thoughts on it?
No, I always say when I first started, so I majored in broadcast journalism and, really studied journalism and got a degree in it and worked for many years as a news reporter. And I remember my very first job in Georgia. And at that time, Instagram was not around. Facebook wasn't a thing. Twitter wasn't a thing. But I had a huge following in this town. And I always think about it, I was very popular. And I would like to think not because of just the visual thing. I was actually a good reporter. I did some really good stories. And I remember, I didn't stay there long because the town was kind of backwards, but they promoted me to like weekend anchor. And so I did that for a while. And I always say, like, back in the day, if Facebook and Instagram was around, I probably would have had a big following because I had a big following in the community already. What I'm proud of is that it wasn't around, and the following that I had was just from my work and the few times people saw me on air. When you think about it, it really wasn't long compared to like somebody on air, on a show constantly every week. So having said that, I feel like it forced me to work harder and really try to sell myself as a journalist.
Brand yourself.
Pardon me?
Brand yourself.
Yeah, it really made me work harder. You know what I mean? Like staying in touch with news directors, moving, which I moved several times, networking with people from my college. And I'm still working on it. Let's face it, like right now, I'm out of work. I'm looking for work. I'm looking for hosting work. Other than, the few acting jobs that I've done, I'm looking for work right now. And so it's forced me to really manage myself and make the right decisions and work harder. And I think sometimes Instagram and TikTok, and they're great as an asset to help be another addition to somebody who has talent, has something they're working on. But for it to be the only thing you have, I think is one of the reasons why this newer generation is, and for lack of a better word, shallow in many ways.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
Because everything is just so surface. How many likes did I get? Did I have enough cleavage showing? Did I show enough leg? Was I cute enough? Was I funny enough? Did I do something bizarre enough to get people talking? And, whereas I feel like back then you really had to work on your talent and you really had to network and be attractive too. So I feel like there's just too much an emphasis on the shallow part of the entertainment business because of these social media accounts.
I mean, and I have to agree with you on that. It seems that pretty much it boils down to that you had a sense of accomplishment whenever you do these types of things. Take for example, I also got my degree in journalism as well, and creating the Xander Effect has given me a sense of accomplishment because I've done this. I work really hard at putting the show together, making sure that I have, something that's informative, something that will actually, people are going to want to say, hey, I didn't know about that. And I got that. I've gotten that a lot of times too.
I was just going to ask, when is that going to start?
Funny. And so, other than adding this guy, seriously, it's one of those things. I actually just got a text today from one of my friends saying how proud she is of the things that I've been doing.
That's great.
And I've gotten other people saying, you know, like they've been told me in the past, like, I didn't know about this, I didn't know about that. You know, I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there. There's a lot of news out there. That's why I have, at the end of every show, I say that's the news in case you haven't heard it, because many people don't hear certain things of the news. And when you hear it, they're like, oh, I didn't know about that. Oh, I didn't know that this movie's coming out. I didn't know about this. So, it's a sense of accomplishment that I've informed the masses. And that's part of journalism, informing the masses. What these kids are doing, they're not informing. They're just playing. And life isn't a game. Life is real. I mean, it's one of those things where I learned, when we're growing up, we all have those moments of we think we know it all. Like we have the know-it-all, part of our lives. And when we get older, we figured, you know what? There's still more that we have to learn. We don't know it all. I mean, hell, there's people that are like 80 years old that are still learning. They're still like, yeah, there's still stuff that I didn't, that I haven't learned yet. And that's the thing about life, is that it's a constant school. It's constant. We're constantly learning. We're constantly evolving. And these kids, they don't understand that yet, but they will. Eventually they will. They will get to that age where they'll probably look back and look at the stupid things that they did, like, what was I thinking? I mean, they'll probably be with that generation where it's not so much the clothes that they wear, but it's the actions that they did that are going to make them say those words. What was I thinking? About doing this or doing that. I just don't understand. And it'll end up being the same thing over and over again, where history will repeat itself. That generation will get to about our age and say the same thing about that generation. Wow, these kids today, they don't know what it's like, being a TikTok star. I mean, it was hard and blah, 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 taking this kind of flack and blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, granted, we'll all probably be like dead and buried by then, so I won't even care. It's always a bright light at the end of the tunnel. What can I say? But anyways, yeah, I mean, as it stands, this young girl is learning the hard way about her own cancel culture canceling her. So, it is what it is with her. You got to move on, darling. Got to move on and, figure out another way to dupe people into watching you. So, that's what it is. We have a lot of interesting entertainment news coming up, including the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reunion aired, and we'll talk a little bit about how that reunion went, including the reunion between Janet Hubbard and Will Smith. That was actually a very interesting reunion in and of itself. Talk a little bit about that. In sports, Dana White is pretty much betting that Khabib will be fighting again, and he names off 4 possible opponents. We'll talk a little bit about that. In video game news, we have a brand new GTA Online has a brand new DLC that adds a private island. I'll let you know a little bit more about that. And of course, later on, we also have the beautiful Amanda Holley will be on the show talking about her newest single, No More, a commentary, which we will also feature on the show. But first, here is Greenday's Basket Case right here on the Xander Effect.
Do you have the time to listen to me whine about nothing and everything all at once? I am one of those melodramatic fools, neurotic to the bone, no doubt about it. Sometimes I give myself the creeps. Sometimes my mind plays tricks on me. It all keeps adding up. I think I'm cracking up. Am I just paranoid? Am I just up? I went to a shrink to analyze my dreams. She says it's like a sex that's bringing me down. I went to a whore. He said my life's a bore. Choke with my wife and it's bringing her down. Sometimes I give myself the creep.
up?
Hey guys, this is Ian Darren.
Hey, this is Annalise Hoveda.
Hey yo, this is Nightmare from Dirty Machine.
Hi, this is Cambry Loveseed.
Hey, this is Dovely.
And you're listening.
And you're listening.
And you're listening.
And you're listening.
And you're listening to the Xander Effect.
Sweet dreams are
Xander Effect. So you better respect my
do what I want right here on the Xander Effect. In entertainment news, so the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reunion aired yesterday, actually, but HBO Max members got to watch, I guess, the day before. They gave us a viewing of it, and it was really interesting to watch because, I mean, it was actually a really great reunion. I actually watched the whole thing, and they basically talked about how they talked about like their auditions, a lot of different things that happened. I mean, there was even Will Smith even talked about how his audition went because he really didn't have an audition per se. It was a funny story. And in case you haven't seen the reunion special, spoiler alert, gonna go ahead and talk a little bit about some of the stuff that happened. Basically, Will Smith talked about how he went to, and even Alfonso Ribeiro didn't even know about this story. He even said, "How did I never know about this story?" Will Smith was actually approached by Benny Medina, and because the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was loosely based on Benny Medina's life, because he went from living in Watts to living in Beverly Hills, and it was loosely based on Benny Medina's life. And Benny went ahead and approached Will Smith and said, "Hey, I mean, at the time, Will Smith was just a, rap artist. He was just, touring with DJ Jazzy Jeff." And he was approached by him and said, "Hey, I have an idea about a rapper that comes from, a rough neighborhood and goes into Bel-Air and blah, blah." And he's like, "Yeah, sounds interesting." And Quincy Jones was having a party, and they went ahead and went to Quincy Jones's birthday. It was his birthday, actually. He was having a birthday party. They went to Quincy's house for his birthday, and Benny went ahead and pitched it right there at the party. And Quincy loved the idea. And he told Will, he's like, "Will, why don't you go ahead and audition for all of us?" And he put Will Smith on the spot. And Will Smith is like, "Yo, nah, wait, what?" Like, he didn't know what to say. So Quincy went ahead and pulled Will Smith on the side. And he's like, "Well, I want you to audition for this. I think you'd be perfect for the part, blah, blah, blah." So long story short, he basically told Quincy, he's like, "All right, give me 10 minutes to go ahead and try to prepare for this." He went ahead and auditioned, got the part. Obviously, he was going to get the part anyway, but Quincy just wanted him to see how he would do under pressure and with a crowd, I guess, and he did very well. So they went ahead, so they cast everybody else. Now, the part that everybody was actually waiting on was the actual reunion between Will Smith and Janet Hubbard, because as we all know, Janet was allegedly released from playing the role of Aunt Viv on the show after 3 seasons. Now, what ended up happening was that there was a lot that was exposed in this reunion. Janet did not take it easy on Will. She actually went ahead and really let him have it. Like, first thing that she said, I mean, they basically were when they first saw each other, they hugged and everything, sat down, and the first thing that came out of her mouth was, "I just want to know why. Why did you do this to me?"
Dang.
Yeah, no, she that was the
This is
first
in front
thing.
of everybody?
Oh yeah. This is in front of the cameras rolling. And she's like, "Why did you all do this to me?" Pretty much is what she said. And Will Smith was kind of thrown aback. He was like, he didn't expect it to come, like, he expected to kind of warm up into the whole issues that happened, but no, she went straight for the jugular. And she didn't stop there. She basically expressed how hurt she was that she was treated this way, and how Will Smith basically used the phrase, she would quote, "She was very difficult to work with." And she said that for a black woman, that's the kiss of death in the industry. And because of that, it hurt her financially, morally. She couldn't find a job for a very long time. She really let him have it. And Will just was like taking it. And he was just like, because apparently she was pregnant at the time, and she was going through a lot of in part she kind of apologized, because in part it was her own fault, because she was going through a lot of personal issues at the time. She lost the will to laugh. She was pregnant. She was emotional. There was a lot of things that she was going through. Her husband was out of work. She had a baby on the way. And apparently she was also going through an abusive relationship with her husband.
Oh, wow.
So there was a lot of things in her personal life that she wasn't expressing or sharing. And it was coming off as she was being kind of, I mean, I don't want to say the word, but the B word.
Yeah.
And that's how the cast was kind of seeing her, but they had no idea she was going through a lot of stuff, and neither did Will. Will didn't have any idea. And he even said that. He's like, I had no clue that you were going through all this. And he also expressed that at the age of 21, he pretty much saw everybody as a threat. And she was like, you even saw me as a threat? He's like, no, not just you. I saw everybody in general as a threat towards me at 21. But he also expressed how now that he's a father, he understands. He understands a little bit of what she was going through as a parent now. And at the end of it all, they went ahead and he apologized. They said, I'm sorry to one another. They squashed the whole thing, and they went ahead and just, they basically let bygones be bygones. And he told her, he's like, I could not have a 30-year reunion without you. I mean, you were part of how this all came about, how this was all created, and how this was all done. And I thank you for that, because without you, this show wouldn't have been able to be the way it was. And thank you so much for that. Another interesting aspect about this is that the Aunt Viv number 2, Daphne Reed, had never met Janet. She never met her until the reunion.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she said, I've never met the woman. I've never met the lady. You know what I mean? I've never met her. And they finally got to meet. They finally hugged. Everybody was reunited because the one-on-one was separate from the reunion itself. They kind of, like, Will Smith wanted to have a one-on-one with Janet first before he brought her into the reunion. So he brought her in. They all hugged. They all, like, embraced one another. They had an incredible an incredible reunion. They paid tribute to James Avery, who played Uncle Phil on the show, which they all cried when they saw the tribute to him. Another thing, and Jeremy, you might like this because we've talked about how the actress that played the little sister on your show, Ashley, she has been kind of set aside whenever you guys have a reunion. In this reunion, they brought Little Nicky. I mean, and Little Nicky was only on the show for like maybe 2 seasons. They brought him towards the end of the reunion. And he's all grown up. Like, he's got a mustache and everything. And he was kind of a surprise to everybody, because during the entire reunion, I was wondering, I was like, where's baby Nicky? How come they don't include him in this whole thing? I was kind of thinking, I was going back to what Jeremy was talking about with Ashley. But no, they included him. They brought him in for the reunion, which is really cool. So it was an incredible reunion special to watch. And I mean, it was just awesome, guys. I got to tell you, you get HBO Max, watch the reunion. Okay. It was awesome. It was awesome to go ahead and relive a lot of amazing moments in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reunion. So, I mean, Jeremy, you come from that era. I mean, what are your thoughts?
I'll definitely have to give it a watch. Coming from that kind of background as well. Even on a cast that got along as well as we did, you have your issues. You definitely do. Everybody knows, it's been well documented, the issues that people on our show had with Kirk in the last few years of our show, the last 2 years in particular, because of his newfound religion at the time, made him rather difficult to work with, and it alienated a lot of people on our show. But even beyond that, we had our own family issues. We were a second family. There are resentments. There are issues. There are, like any family, there really is. And you have two choices. You can either deal with it and move forward, or you can dislike each other and not talk to each other. It's no different than a real family. You know, I mean, that's the truth. If people are part of your lives for that long, and, you know, 7, 8 years where you're spending 8 months, 9 months a year at a time with these people, they are your other family. They are a second family to you. So you're always going to have this kind of drama, this kind of, no matter what it is, it's going to be there. So it's good to see that they, you know, were able to mend some of those fences. And, you know, as I've said, in our situation with Kirk, he came to us when we did our very first Growing Pains reunion movie. And in the first week we were shooting, actually, I think it was like day 2, we were all shooting. He took us all aside the first moment he had, and he apologized to us for his behavior and kind of how he had been. And, you know, he said he didn't, you know, at the time really didn't understand what his faith was about, what it even meant to him. And he kind of went off the deep end and was so sorry for how he had treated us. And, you know, it was an amazing moment, and all that hurt was washed away. So
really cool.
It's really good to see, you know, them be able to come to that point. But, you know, people got to remember, this is no different. I mean, a TV family, especially one that's on for that long, develops like a real family. I mean, it really does. So you're going to have all those same issues.
Yeah, it's very true. It's very true. And I'm glad that they at least were able to resolve things with Janet. You know, she was at least able to express how she felt and how you know, how she's able to forgive. Because that's what it all boils down to as well, is forgiveness. Is you ask for an apology, you know, a heartfelt apology, and you forgive. And it was really, and in my opinion, I think it was really cool for Will to include her in this special and actually, you know, let the record show that, hey, without Janet, this show wouldn't have been able to go off the way it did.
Speaking of Will, can I just say this? Speaking of Will, I think that just from observing just things that have happened in his life in the last couple of years and Jada's show, Red Table Talk, I'm just seeing a change in him. Like, I wonder, you know, when you say 30 years, wow, it's taken 30 years for her to finally have her moment and for them to finally patch things up. I mean, we all grow and we all change. Hopefully we're forever evolving. And I wonder how much of Jada and just the Red Table Talk show has made Will, in my opinion, more open to accepting criticism and just open to talking, just in general, in his personal and professional life. Because I've seen a couple of episodes on Red Table Talk. I'm a big fan of that show, where he's allowed, you know, his family to call him out on stuff openly. So with you all and with Jeremy making the point that when you're working on a show like that runs so long, the cast does become your family. And so being just open in his personal and professional life to be able to take another look at himself, you know, and hold himself accountable for something. I just think it says a lot, and I don't think it's a coincidence that all of this has happened to him.
Well, I can add to that too. I mean, you see it. I mean, in a lot of people who are in the public eye, we've seen him grow up. I mean, we've seen him mature. He's a father. He's a man who's, you know, come a long way and been able to look back at his mistakes. He seems very willing to self-reflect, and that's just shows a real maturity level. And I think, I mean, maybe, you know, a lot of that has to do with what's going on with Jada and her show, and maybe the show came out of the way they've learned to communicate and talk about these things. You know, who knows? But I think there's a definite maturing process that we've watched, and I think watching interviews with him and watching him talk about his projects, his family, his friends, you see a different level of maturity now, and I think that's very common, you know, with a lot of people when they hit this age.
Yeah, and I think that and like, you know, pretty much going back to what he said, he even admitted himself that now that he's a father, he sees things differently. I guess. I mean, I'm not a parent, but I guess But Jeremy, you are, and I guess when you become a parent, you are forced to see things differently, but it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing because you're forced to actually reflect and say, you know what, maybe I did something wrong, and I can't be teaching my children my mistakes.
Well, let me give you a very good example. And it's a random example, but during my wilder years, if you'd have asked me, I'd have told you that, when my kid turned 16 or so, I was going to be the first one to roll a joint and smoke it with him. I can tell you right now, that did not happen. I can tell you right now as a father, that didn't even enter my mind.
Nice.
Come that point in time. Things change. We grow up, and yes, becoming a parent does change your worldview at least 90% of the time. I mean, we have all seen people that's not the case, unfortunately. But 90% of the time, I'd say, becoming a parent changes your entire worldview. It changes the way you look at everything, the way you reevaluate the things you did, everything. It really changes it all. So there really is no way to understand that type of shift in a worldview without experiencing it, because it changes everything just that instantly. And I had 3 ready-made kids that came into my life, and and it's still, it alters every aspect. I mean, every decision you make now takes on a whole new meaning and a whole new point of view. So I mean, I was as stupid and wild and dumb as could be, like most of us were in our in our youths and our early 20s, that kind of thing. But as I've gotten older, I've calmed down a lot, as Xander can tell you. I'm a much more peaceful person nowadays.
I think it would have been cool to actually have met you back in your 20s.
Well,
I think we would have gotten into a lot of trouble.
Yes, we would have. That's why I think I got enough trouble on my own. I don't need any more help.
Oh, I would have pushed. I would have been so bad. I would have been a horrible influence.
I already had Brad. I don't need another one. Thank you.
Well, I mean, again, the reunion was amazing. I enjoyed watching it. It was really cool to go back and see some of the episodes. Really funny, very sad. They're very emotional moments. Very, very great reunion special. I would definitely recommend for everybody to go check it out. If you were a Fresh Prince of Bel-Air fan, definitely go check out the reunion. And if not, HBO Max also has Fresh Prince of Bel-Air all seasons streaming on there. So, cool. Go ahead and check that out as well. In other entertainment news, Coming to America 2 is coming to Amazon in March of 2021. Looks like the sequel to Coming to America has been bought by Amazon Prime, and it will be airing in March of 2021, as reported by Variety. Jennifer Salk, head of Amazon Studios, went ahead and said, quote, Coming to America's was a cultural phenomenon that is one of the most loved and celebrated comedies of all time. Thanks to Eddie Murphy's comedic genius, along with the brilliant filmmakers, writers, and fabulous cast, we couldn't be more excited to celebrate this new adventure. We know audiences around the world will fall in love with this hilarious, joyful movie that will surely become a timeless favorite. So, apparently, it seems that the premise of this sequel has Eddie Murphy reprising his role as now the Crown Prince Akeem. He's actually now, I believe, the king, and his confidant Semi, played by Arsenio Hall, they travel back to Queens, New York again. In the first part of Coming to America, they come to America to find a wife, an intelligent wife. Because that's what Prince Akeem wants. So in the sequel, there's not really much as to why he's coming back to Queens, but basically we have we have a bunch of people that are returning back from the original. We have James Earl Jones, Shari Headley, John Amos, and Louis Anderson will be reprising the roles from the original. But we also have brand new members of the cast coming in, which is Wesley Snipes, Leslie Jones, Tracy Morgan, Jermaine Fowler, Bella Murphy, Rotimi, Kiki Lane, Nomzamo Mambatha, and Tiana Taylor are all joining the sequel. So that's going to be an all-star cast as well. This is actually, Lonnie, you expressed that you were actually really excited that this is coming out.
I've been very, very excited. I'm a huge Coming to America fan. I can recite dialogue from the film and all kinds of stuff. She's my queen. No, we quit. So anyway, I love the movie. So hilarious. Eddie Murphy and all of the characters he plays, genius. So I've really been looking forward to it. The only thing that I'm sad to hear, because we were talking about it last year, and there were plenty. I was just hoping for like a premiere and seeing at the movies and red carpet. It's just not the same coming out on Amazon. I mean, I'm glad that they're moving forward with it, but it's just not the same with coming out on Amazon Prime.
Well, I mean,
but I think it's cool. You mentioned the cast. Bella Murphy, I think that's one of his daughters. So sounds like he has, one of his daughters in it. But we'll just have to see, how funny it is, if it's as good as the original. But I love Coming to America. It's one of my favorite movies.
Well, you see, Lonnie, this isn't the only movie actually that's coming straight from because due to the pandemic, a lot of changes have happened. Wonder Woman 1984 is going to be on HBO Max in December 25th and is going to be simultaneously premiering in theaters as well. It's going to be on both. It's going to be in theaters and on HBO Max. So, and it's going to be on HBO Max for a limited time, though. So it's going to be premiering on Christmas morning, December 25th. Wonder Woman 1984 will be on. So that's actually a treat for a lot of people, to be honest. I know a lot of people love seeing premieres and everything, but to be honest, as a moviegoer, especially right now in the pandemic, I miss going to the movies. Don't get me wrong. I really miss doing that. But I'm happy that at least a lot of the really fun movies are going to be on television where we could be able to access it, in my opinion. I'm actually happy about that. Get to, watch it in the comfort of my own home. I don't have to sit next to, this guy over here, watching the movies and stuff. That's just the silver lining to the whole thing. But
you just said last week you love going to the movies with me on air.
I said no such thing. I said no such thing.
We have it on the show, on proof.
I don't understand.
You said you love going to the movies with me.
I said I love going to the movies with your fiance. I'm okay with you being there. That's fine.
That's not what you said. I have proof.
You know what? We're gonna have to delete everything that you're saying right now. So, but I mean, Jeremy, what do you think about Coming to America going straight to Amazon Prime and Wonder Woman going straight to HBO Max?
It's definitely a split feeling for me. I definitely appreciate the fact we can still get this entertainment. We can still get some new entertainment, as I'm sure many people are feeling like I am. We've binged everything we can. There's
tell me
very little we have not seen on streaming right now, with as sequestered as most of us have been. So that's nice to have. But as a fan, those two films in particular, it breaks my heart. First and foremost, Coming to America was the first or second, let me see. Which came out first, Rain Man or Coming to America?
Oh, that's a good. I think it was Coming to America. I
believe so too.
Yeah.
And if so, Coming to America was my first rated R film that I went and saw on my own in a theater.
Oh, awesome.
I was 12 years old, and this is when you could still do this. I went to the theater with a note in my pocket from my mother saying that I was allowed to purchase this R-rated movie ticket at 12 years old, and they just accepted the note. I mean, I didn't have to, forge it. My mom had no issue with it, but I mean, I could have forged the damn thing and they wouldn't have, known the difference. And that was the first R-rated, film at all that I went and watched alone. And I remember sitting there and I actually almost fell out of my chair. I was laughing so hard.
What's your favorite scene, Jeremy? Was it by chance the barbershop scene? The boys, I call them Cassius Clay.
Being a huge boxing fan, that was definitely one of my favorite scenes. So very hard to choose, and honestly, I couldn't tell you what was my favorite scene back then.
Yeah.
Or what struck me. And I believe walking home from the theater, I just kept reliving the whole film. I mean, I found the whole thing so amazingly brilliant and funny. And I was a huge fan of Eddie Murphy at that point. And as we all know, it's part of the extended Trading Places universe and everything. Well, Trading Places was my favorite as a kid.
Love that movie.
So it just really connected with me. So not getting to see it in the theater is a little heartbreaking for me because of that experience.
Yeah.
And then with Wonder Woman, the sheer marvel of it, no pun intended for the opposite.
Well, they're not Marvel, they're DC.
I know, that's what I mean. I know it's the opposite, but the spectacle of it, to see it up on the big screen is what I would have wanted. I mean, being a huge Wonder Woman fan as a kid, this one just looks so epic and so spectacular.
Yeah, tell me about it.
It really is going to lose a little something, not seeing it up on the big screen the first time.
Takes it back to 1984. Talk about an era that many people would have loved to have seen on the big screen.
Right.
It's tough, but I mean, I see what you're saying, and yeah, it's gonna be a really tough one. But hey, I mean, we gotta adapt. Unfortunately, we have to adapt with the current circumstances, and hopefully next year will be different for a lot of things. Hopefully next year we'll start little by little, getting back to normal as much as possible. So, but yeah, like I said, coming to America, coming in March 2021. So definitely looking forward to that one. And of course, Wonder Woman coming in the next couple of weeks, actually, December 25th to HBO Max. So should be a really cool thing to watch. In other entertainment news, Michael B. Jordan has been named Sexiest Man Alive. And Lonnie, you kind of brought this up.
Yeah, I did. I brought it up for a couple of reasons. One, congratulations to Michael B. Jordan. And I don't know if you guys know this, but he follows John Legend, who was Sexiest Man Alive last year. And then the year before that was Idris Elba. So 3 years in a row, my brothers have been, sexiest men alive, which is really great. They were talking about it on several of the talk shows the other day. There was a time when, because People's Magazine has come out with the sexiest man alive, sexiest woman alive for a while now. And there was a period of time where you really didn't see that many men of color who were part of the list, at least that high on the list. So it's nice to see the magazine has become more diverse in acknowledging who they think is sexy. I think this year they got it right with Michael B. Jordan. He's super hot, supposed to be one of the nicest guys too, and super humble. What I thought was really interesting is during an interview on Jimmy Kimmel the other night, I think it was Jimmy Kimmel, he was asking him about it and teasing him about it. When they first got the call, his agent and manager called him to let him know one of his close friends was in the car with him. And so they didn't want to give it, they didn't want anyone else to know, so they were trying to keep it under wraps until it came out in the magazine. And the best friend teased him immediately afterwards and was like giving him a hard time as guys would with the whole sexiest man alive thing. But what I thought is really cool, I don't know if you've noticed in quarantine, Michael has let his mustache grow out like a lot of men have done. And so one of the things that he's doing on, that he mentioned to Jimmy Kimmel the other day, on the what's it called? Fan page or only fan account that a lot of artists are doing. What are you planning on?
OnlyFans page? That's more like an adult page for models that I guess money or something.
But check out what he's planning on doing. He's making an OnlyFans page for the mustache.
Huh. Wow.
And the money that he makes from that page, he is going to give it to all the barbershops who have suffered during the pandemic. I just thought that idea was such a great idea because they were talking about it. So Jimmy teased him because Michael had a picture of like no shirt with, you could see, the hair under his nose, which I'm not a big fan of mustache, just saying.
You're not a fan of the old 70s porn star look?
No. So, but he's going to use the money to help a lot of the barbershops who are having a hard time right now. So I thought that was really cool. And I don't know, I think he's sexy. What do you guys think?
I mean, you just put me on the spot right there on that one. No, but what I think is, to be honest with you, whenever I hear the word mustache, I go back to Super Troopers and the cop coming up to the two couple or whatever, like, who wants a mustache ride? So that's what comes to my mind when I hear mustaches. I mean, Jeremy, what are your thoughts on the whole mustache thing?
Well, I mean, I like what he's doing with that. That's really cool, especially that he's going to be giving away the proceeds. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I tend to, when I hear the mustache thing, I tend to go to Super Troopers as well. So,
man after my own heart, he knows.
No, I mean, we all know. I mean, Michael B. Jordan's a good-looking guy. Yeah. It's definitely deserving. Mm-hmm. As Lonnie said, it's very cool to see them recognizing some men of color. Mm-hmm. And, becoming more diverse. They have taken strides with that over the years at a few different times. I remember when they made a big deal out of having Patrick Stewart as he was the sexiest man in the world one year. Mm-hmm. And it was the first time an older gentleman had been chosen. They had never chosen somebody over 40 years old, and at the time he was well into his 50s at the time that they actually chose him. Okay, which was a pretty big deal at the time. And I believe I couldn't quote who the first sexiest man of the year who was black was. I don't know. Yeah, that would be a good one. But I'm sure that was a big deal. People pay attention to this, and it's a bit of a barometer as to where we're at socially. So it's good to see.
Yeah.
And again, props to Michael B. Jordan for doing what he's doing. I'm glad that he's doing it. He's opened up an OnlyFans page for a good cause, which is really cool of him. He's using his status to be able to promote and be able to help as much as possible during these crazy times. So props to him on that.
And I also might say he's one of the few actors who's been working steadily through the pandemic. He's actually working on a film right now being produced by Denzel Washington. So Denzel has given him all these little gems of wisdom during filming.
Well, there was talk that Michael B. Jordan is actually the next Denzel.
Really?
A lot of people have been comparing him to Denzel, saying that he might be the getting groomed by Denzel. Yeah. You never know, but you know, again, you know, props to him. Glad that he's still having stuff that's very steady. So, you know, definitely looking forward to seeing what that film's all about. But yeah, definitely glad that he's doing what he's doing. Coming up next, we have Miss Amanda Holley is here, and she'll be talking about her newest single, No More, a Commentary. But first, here is the new single by Amanda Holley, No More, a Commentary, right here on the Xander Effect.
You are now listening to the Xander Effect World Premiere.
I just want you to say how you feel it. Just say what you feel. Hey.
Mad at the way that the world is. Sick and tired of this feeling. We're so damn happy when we're miserable. And ain't glad that true we are. On a different frequency. Need somebody needing me. I want that physical, sexual healing, not that literal, typical feeling. Can we disappear for a minute? Get lost down deeper in it. Can't compromise on what it away. No more, no more, no more, no more, no more, no more, no more. If everybody knew the truth, I'm somebody needing you. Could I trust you with the information? Don't leave me waiting. I'm on overdrive. You feel it right. You feel me right. I want that physical, sexual healing, not that literal, typical feeling. No more, no more, no more. No more, no more, no more. No more, no more, no more. Love me right, love me like, give me all what you love tonight. Love me right, love me like, all what you love tonight. Can we disappear for a minute? Get lost down deeper in it. Can't compromise on what I like. Wait, no more, wait, no more. No more, no more, no more. No more, no more, no more. No more, no more. Love me right. Tonight is you and me. Love me right. Love me right. Keep me up with your love. Love me right.
That was Amanda Holley's No More, a Commentary, right here on the Xander Effect. And with us, we have the lady herself, Miss Amanda Holley. Amanda, welcome back to the Xander Effect for
Hey, Xander.
an unprecedented third time. I love having you. I'm so happy that you're back on here.
Aw, it's always the best. It's always the best being on your show. You know I love it. You know I love you.
Thank you. Likewise. And I mean, love your music. I'm always playing it. I'm always playing Runaway. Get It Boy is actually one of my favorites. I like that one. I like the rhythm to it and everything. And I mean, I love your music. Your music is amazing. And I mean, you're here in Los Angeles, actually. I mean,
yes.
You're visiting Los Angeles from New York. How's the visit going so far?
Excellent. Finally back. Usually I'm in LA more than I'm home. So that's just like the crazy part. So spending time back east, in a more drawn out and meaningful way was like really good, actually, just to like catch up with everything and my team over there. But it's really great to be back and, hitting the ground running in LA, even just for a couple of weeks. I'm going to head back east and then come back out here for a longer trip after the new year.
Nice. Well, we're happy to have you here for the holidays and everything. And I know that you've been, man, you're in New York, and that place is like on lockdown. There's a lot of stuff going on in New York. How's it going for you?
It's crazy. Like, it's really, actually what I did notice, and I already kind of knew this would be the case, even though LA is still really slow compared to obviously normal or like how it used to be. It is more on the up and up than the city, for damn sure.
Really? What do you mean by up and up? I'm a little
I think, just more people are still engaged in like more productive activities. Because in New York, it's like a lot of my core people are in Miami and Dubai. They pretty much left. There are some studios that have like reopened, which was really great. I finally got to go back in the actual studio, which was just like the weirdest thing, because it was like months of this Zoom and all that, and me trying to be my own engineer at home.
You learned a lot though, right?
Yeah. Well, you know what? I know how to run a little bit of Pro Tools and stuff, but it's like, it's really, for me, it's like I get so engrossed in my process. It's so much more fun when I'm with my producers in person, but it's definitely great to be able to, vibe out at home. Like that's not an issue, but getting to set foot back in the studio, like one of the studios actually, where we cut No More. It's like one of those really popular, legendary studios. Taylor Swift, everybody records out of there. And one of my producers, he's like hit, millions and millions of streams and everything on Spotify, and he's starting to chart finally. So we decided to get together, and I was like, this is a song that I wrote about a year before all the craziness started. Like, actually, not this past August, but like a year and a half ago, August, almost a year and a half. And I just felt like when I saw what was going on, like that song just, for some reason, I was like, I need to finish this one. And it's really interesting because I actually channeled it in the vocal booth a year and a half ago, and I literally saw people in the streets with signs and everything, and that's all before this happened. So we went in and we cut it, but being in the actual vocal booth, we were both like, whoa. It was so crazy. But LA is a bit more on the up and up. It's just easier to maneuver because LA is more of an outside city, whereas New York is just a lot more slowed down, and a lot of people that I love back east are either in Miami or Dubai or actually here in LA. I have some people that are in Sweden right now.
Oh wow!
So, yeah, but
they're all spread out everywhere.
Yeah, because it's like, it's hard to get things done in confined spaces when, you have this like risk.
Right? I could imagine it's pretty tough on you, but at least you got to be able to record No More, a commentary, which I wanted to ask you about the title exactly. Where did the title come from, No More, a commentary?
Okay, so No More was just a vibe that we were just feeling after we were shooting some other video footage at the studio a year and a half ago. We were just vibing out on the Steinway, and it just kind of just came out. And then I channeled the song in the booth, but I realized that really this was my commentary on my own personal journey through our kind of like 3D world,
No kidding. The Matrix world, you mean?
Yeah. I just want to go to 5D already. Like I
just wish I would have taken the blue pill.
Right? Oh, nice. Yeah, ignorance is bliss.
Right. At this point.
Yeah. We have so many records though that I can't wait to release. I have hundreds of completed records with like Grammy winning and multi-platinum producers and writers, and it's hard to sit on the music, but I'm excited because we're gonna put this one out shortly, like within the next few weeks. We just shot a video out here. I shot some footage back east and here in LA for this particular record. And then Runaway is getting a re-release at a new label platform. So, and we're really excited about that. And then I can get on, hopefully, we have the vaccine and stuff, and I can get to shooting like the other 10 videos that I've been wanting to do, because the other characters that I want to include for those, just for like, a lot of the records are very like women empowerment and power for the streets and just all of that. And this is like all stuff I wanted to talk about before this past year, Nice. So it's really important to me to be able to include the cast that I had in mind for those. But obviously, I want everyone to be safe. So there's that.
Of course. And I gotta tell you, Amanda, you're not the only East Coast girl here on the show. I mean, Lonnie here is also from your neck of the woods, from that area, from the East Coast.
Yeah, I know what it's like to be bi-coastal, and everything that you were just talking about how things are open more on the West Coast, and how, even just, going and grabbing, I found a great place to go and get juice here, because I'm in Pennsylvania right now, and I was born in New York, but I live in LA too. And I just the other day was just like, I made myself get out of the car and walk to go get the juice, as opposed to, parking right in front of the place just to get some exercise in, because it's so easy, on the West Coast, as to even just exercise. Whereas back here, it's so cold, you don't want to do anything. You don't want to go anywhere.
So true. That's awesome though. I'm like, yay. Another one bi-coastal. Awesome.
See, you definitely have a lot of things in common here. I mean, you're when you come on the Xander Effect now, Amanda, now you're surrounded by people that, that are all family here, except for Jeremy, of course. Jeremy, he's like the redheaded stepchild that we don't want.
Thank you.
But I mean, it's funny because I actually introduced Jeremy to your music. And when he listened to it, because I showed him not just your music, but the music video, and Jeremy watched it and he was like, wow, she's really talented. I mean, he could speak for himself. I mean, I'm speaking for him at this point.
Thank you, Jeremy.
It's very true. I have a very eclectic enjoyment of music, so getting introduced to yours was a real pleasure.
That's cool.
I always love getting to hear new artists and getting introduced to people I wasn't familiar with, and people who are as passionate lyrically as you seem to be as well, and that's something I really love.
Well, thank you for that. That even sounded so deep. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I love, for me, like, just like what you said, just a great lyric is the epitome of bliss when it comes to my soul. It's like, I was published by Columbia Press as a high schooler.
Wow.
And for poetry and prose. So it's always an interesting new challenge. Like every time we write, or I write something, I write a record, because I'm composing all the time, but I always want to make it accessible and understandable, in those little 3-second moments of song, versus when we're writing prose and poetry. It's a bit more intricate, but I enjoy it just as much as writing a novella. Writing a song is just as, it's so incredible, the simplicity of songwriting, in contrast to writing a novel is like, it's like a whole new challenge. Like it's you would think one would be easier than the other, but really they're just both such profound forms of art that it's like they each present their own challenges. But I do find that my poetic voice sometimes bleeds into my lyric writing. So that that's funny that you kind of like like, I don't know, you can feel it a little bit.
I absolutely felt it. I mean, it registers lyrics. I mean, a great melody is a great melody, but lyrics are what really touches you. And those lyrics that are powerful, those lyrics that just touch your heart, touch your soul, those are what everybody, whether it's a style of music you generally like or not, that's what people connect to. So I really, I don't know, I just picked up on that and it really touched me. And I really enjoy it. But I did want to ask you, and I know this is kind of a cliched question, but since you do seem to put so much value on the lyrics, and it obviously means so much to you, where do you find most of your inspiration lyrically?
Wow. It's interesting because, I mean, Xander knows I have a really unconventional life and background, just from even from birth, just a really crazy, highly unconventional depth of experience in life. Not, whatever, it's interesting. But I find that the lyrics write themselves. Even the melodies, some days it's just melodies, but all day, every day, and when I'm sleeping most nights, I hear the melodies and the lyrics. And so I kind of feel like it's almost like just being a channel, which every person in this world really is, just in different ways. Some people are more with numbers, and some people have it more with visuals. And for me, it's melodies and lyrics, but they're channeled. And obviously my personal experiences definitely come into play with everything, but it's almost like they write themselves. It's like plucking them out of the ether, basically, in that respect. It's kind of weird.
I have a question, Amanda, about just the business, the music business, because, I hear a lot of people such as yourself who are amazing artists, and they love the artistry and they love the process, as it just, I can hear it just when you talk about how, channeling it all through you. But how have you been able to be smart about handling your songs, just like having the rights to them, and with the business side of it? Because when I see of so many situations like Taylor Swift, who's also an amazing songwriter, and a lot of people are like, well, poor Taylor, but still, those are her songs, and
it's true. Those are her babies.
Right. So, what are you doing as an artist to avoid a situation like that? What have you done?
That's a really profound question. Yeah, that's a heavy one.
You see what I'm talking? You see what I mean?
I'm like, Jeremy, I'm like both of you guys. I'm like, whoa, okay.
I chose well for great co-hosts. What can I say?
Yeah. No, it really is important because, for instance, my dad wrote for Sarah Vaughan back in the day, and he signed his royalties away. My dad's African American, and it was a different era in music, and we were completely exploited then, not like we aren't now, and I won't get into that, but he I didn't really get to know him very well, but that story just broke my heart, and I'm his heir to these songs that are literally have his name on them, and if I want to deal with any of that, I have to go and fight in court, and it's already emotional for me, so I always said my aunt is also a songwriter, and she was a lot more diligent. My aunt wrote for Stephanie Mills and a bunch of artists and stuff, and she discovered her and got her in the Wiz and toured with
my sister's a huge Stephanie Mills fan, and my sister sings as well. So she used to sing Home.
Yes, I love that song.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Go on.
My aunt discovered Stephanie when she was 13 and got her in the Wiz, and so Home is something that we grew up playing and singing together at the piano my whole childhood. I love that song. But my aunt, you know, she was always like hyper possessive over her work because of that. So she would take me to like little ASCAP events and stuff when I was a kid to teach me about, you know, your masters and your rights. But it's so challenging. I have to tell you, I had to walk away. I had to literally leave a $10 million deal because the COO of the company thought that he was like hot, you know what? And he like wanted to own, even though contractually, like he couldn't, he wanted to own every morsel of everything I did. And it was really, really freaking hard. And I've had to turn my back on a lot of situations like that and just walk away from the money. I don't know how, you know, I guess my goal is to build enough leverage where I can still be in control of my work. And that's what I think is the really honestly, like maybe the only solution for artists today, because the industry is just, it's so cutthroat and it's so, and people sign their rights away for, you know, that paycheck. And it's like, that's each, you know, to each his own. For me, I'm really in this purely for the art and I want to reach billions of people with it. But I don't think if I sell my soul or, you know, there are multiple ways that can happen, we know, in this industry as females and as minority artists, like just, and then when it comes to the pure creative side. But I think having like a strong team, like my manager, he's been in the industry for a long time. And he comes out of the Apollo Theater legacy. His dad created Amateur Night at the Apollo and found the icons of American music.
Shout out to Ralph, by the way. Shout out to Ralph, by the way. Awesome guy. Awesome guy.
And he knows that like it's too important to me. And I think each artist, to each his own. Like some artists might not care, you know, they might be like, oh, you know, it isn't about that for me. I just want to make this money. I just want to perform and whatever. But to me, I feel like if we stand our ground together, you know, when it comes to, you know, our own personal legacies and what we're trying to build, I feel like it gives every other artist more of a fighting chance, you know, even if it takes a little longer, you know. I actually wanted
to piggyback on what you're talking about there, Amanda. And, you know, as an artist, do you feel like whenever another artist takes a deal like this, knowing the repercussions, do you feel that is somewhat of a betrayal to the art itself?
You know, it's interesting. I mean, you can look at it that way for sure. I just feel like I can't judge what other people do. Of course, every single time that someone compromises themselves to get in the door, it makes it a little bit more challenging for those of us that refuse to do that. But it's like, I can't really be mad at them. Like, that's their personal choice. And what I have to do is I have to fight for what I was put here for, you know. It is interesting though. I feel like a lot of people just don't know their power too. You know, they really don't. Like a lot of artists don't realize that we're the ones that make this business possible. Like if there's no product, they can't make money.
True.
And it's like, you know, guys, like you don't have to resort to some of these things that you're, you know, whether you're selling out your rights for forever or you know, engaging in things that you really don't want to do. Because if we all hold tight to like our convictions, then they can't really get around it because they're still going to need product, but it's not really up to any singular person. And it's not my place to like judge it, but It is sad. You know, it breaks my heart when I do see stuff like that happening.
Because you walked away from a $10 million deal.
Yeah.
Huge.
And I was already in it, and the money was already flowing, and I was like, I'm home free for the next decade.
Yeah, because a lot of these big labels, they'll go ahead and throw a lot of money at you, but at the end of the day, when the well dries up, you're pretty much screwed. And, and that's what ends up being like. That's a lot of. I mean, that's what's going on right now. Going back to Taylor Swift and Scooter Braun, they're fighting over the masters. And Scooter's like, I own it. I'm sorry, it's mine. And he
just sold them.
I know. That's I was getting to that. I was getting to that part where he just sold them, and she's not getting a dime off of that.
It's really sad. It's really sad. You know, at the same time, I don't know who was in charge of her career at the time, you know, but whoever, that initial contract that they had together was one of those, here, you're going to get all this sparkly stuff, and then here in the fine print is where we've got you, you know, and it's very tempting, and it's especially when this is your dream and this is like what you're made to do in the world. It can be freaking challenging. I remember my aunt telling me this story about Stephanie when they were working together. They had two labels going for Stephanie, Warner and Motown. And my aunt was like really, really begging Stephanie to take the deal with Warner, even though it was less money up front, less money overall. She said, you know, and I love Diana Ross, but you know, Diana Ross is a diva, and she was at Motown, and my aunt said, you know, they're gonna bury you over there, just because sometimes we have that in this industry, sign and bury. If they see somebody that's more competitive than someone they've got, they just want to kind of like keep the competition at bay. And Stephanie ended up going to Motown because she wanted that big advance. She wanted that upfront money, and they really did. Like her career could have been even bigger than it was, because she was just so incredible. Like, you know.
Yeah, because if you ask very, very true, Amanda, because if you ask the average person today, who is Stephanie Mills? Like, they don't really know. Like, I know, because I love musical theater, and I had a sister who exposed me to a lot of music. But there are probably a lot of people who don't know her music and know who she is. But they know who Diana Ross is. Speaking of big names and people not knowing, and I'm sure you know this, so Dolly Parton's a great songwriter.
Yes.
And she wrote, I Will Always Love You. I just heard this the other day. Okay, so we know Whitney Houston recorded it, and Dolly let her record it. But did you know, and I heard this in an interview the other day, Dolly had an offer to let Elvis Presley record it.
I did not know.
Part of the deal, this is the same thing what we're talking about. Part of Elvis's deal was he wanted the rights to that song.
Ooh.
And Dolly, a savvy businesswoman, loved Dolly. By the way, one of my best concerts I've ever seen is Dolly Parton. And,
she's incredible.
And so she said no. She's like, no, there was something in her, and maybe she just had good people around her, just good sense. That she, although she would have loved to have heard what he could have done with that song.
Yes.
You know, she did not want to sign over the rights to it because that was her baby. And, you know, there you go.
That's amazing. I did not know that. Well, I knew about Whitney, of course, about how Dolly wrote that song.
I don't know if I would have been able to. I can't see anybody but Whitney sing that song though. Like I'm sorry, but you know,
Dolly's version is beautiful.
Dolly's version is really beautiful, but it is
different.
It's well, I mean, it was the original, and it was a hardcore country song. I mean, it is a country song, and it's a beautiful song. But if you're used to that Whitney Houston version, it sounds like it's coming from another world.
No, what I mean, what I mean by that is that between Whitney and Elvis is what I mean. I can't picture anybody other than Whitney singing that song. Obviously, besides Dolly Parton, obviously.
Or besides me. I have a version of it. That's
glad to hear it.
Well, see, I haven't heard your version, so I can't really. I have no basis of comparison in that aspect, Amanda. So, but I mean, I do have.
I combine them. I play it on the piano, and then I combine. I mean, obviously, we all pay homage to Whitney's delivery, but I always pay tribute to Dolly.
Awesome.
And then I have my own way of delivering it, though. That's like totally signatory to who I am. You know, my own little vocal arrangement. That's
well, I mean,
in the tradition of Miss Houston, with a little bit of Miss Holley in there.
There you go. There you go. So I'm curious because I mean, you know, this aspect of the business is always very tumultuous, and I mean, is it any different in the entertainment in the acting business, Jeremy? I mean, from what Amanda is talking about.
I don't think it's really that different, except that for an actor, you're not creating the product. You're performing the product. So, you know, ownership, those things don't really play in. The one thing that is really comparable is that, like Amanda was saying, you have the power. Now, see, we don't as much. Now, because you're creating as a songwriter, as a performer, because you want to own your masters, it's your stuff, as you said, it's your baby. You have that power, and they don't have a product without you. Actors, on the other hand, are more dime a dozen.
Yep.
You know, that's the truth. You know, if you want to pull the power move and you don't have that leverage yet, guess what? They're going to find someone else. They may not do the part quite as well as you, but there are 100 other actors out there who can do it well. You know, that's the truth. Throw a rock.
It is so interesting that way.
It is. It's just and like you said, I still don't think people realize they have that power. I mean, writers, you know, have that power. If you have a great script, you have a great script. I mean, I always throw it back to Sylvester Stallone writing Rocky. People offered him tons of money. The guy was living on his friends' couches. He had to sell his dog. He had to, and people were offering him, we're talking 1974, they're offering him $250,000 to buy the script. $250,000 right now.
Wow. Money. That was worth a lot of money back then.
And he said, absolutely not, because they wanted the script. They wanted to do it their way. They wanted to cast their own people. And he knew, this is my baby. I do not want to let control of this go. I want to play this role. But it was more than just him wanting to play it as an actor. He wanted full control of this story. So I always take it back to that. Actors don't have that leverage. As an actor, you have to make it big, and then you can, you know, be selective and use that leverage because you are now a commodity. Whereas I really love the fact that you said you guys have that power and not enough people realize it. You know, and that's something more people who have that type of control need to realize and take the reins of, because it's not an option I have as an actor. And it's not something I've ever, you know, tortured myself over or lamented about. It is what it is. I perform other people's work, and I try and do it to the best of my ability. So that's, I guess, one of the reasons why I've always respected songwriters so much as well, is because it's that creative, you know, process. And while it is your song, similar to a script writer, you know, other people sing that song and bring something new to it and add to it and make it even more. And it's beautiful, but it's still yours. So I don't think enough people realize that.
I mean,
it also speaks to just the power in being able to write well, whether it be a song, a screenplay, you know, whatever. There's power in that.
I mean, it's I don't know. I mean, I guess because I grew up watching Growing Pains and watching you as Ben Seaver, Jeremy, it would have been hard for me to see anybody else do that role. I mean, Amanda, I don't know if you ever got, I mean, you're from a younger generation, but I don't know if you ever got to watch Growing Pains or anything like that. But if you did, again, it would be hard for someone to replace little Ben Seaver on the show, as much as it would be hard to replace Mike Seaver on the show. Kirk?
Yeah, I believe that about acting. I mean, I believe, I don't feel like actors are so interchangeable. But I understand like where Jeremy's coming from, because I grew up in the theater myself, and I'm in the Actors Union, and I trained with a lot of incredible actors throughout my childhood and life, and acting is a part of me, and just music is like the number one thing, but I love them equally. And what I do feel very strongly is like, when I had to decide, I was kind of like, well, if I continue down this path, it's like what Jeremy said. I'm always going to be, putting up someone else's work, even though I am a writer and I guess I could write my own scripts or whatever. But that's like a whole other universe of everything. But at the same time, like certain actors, to me, are signatory and are irreplaceable, but I also do understand that feeling of like, oh well, they'll just put another person in there, or like, oh well, there are 500 of me, but there really aren't, but I kind of feel like that's another illusion that we're made to buy into, that we're interchangeable.
Oh, it's absolutely an illusion, and it's one they want us to buy into. I mean, I'll give you an example. I was friends with Jonathan Taylor Thomas, and oh my goodness, I'm going to blank on his name.
It happens.
I'm blanking on
that. Scroll through Growing Pains a little here and there, like reruns and stuff.
Oh, awesome.
So I know of the show. I'm just not familiar enough to be cool like you guys.
I was friends with the kids on Home Improvement, and in, I believe, the third season, their agents wanted a raise for the kids. And basically, Disney, being rather tight with the pennies, let's say it that way, basically told them, yeah, tough luck, and if you want to keep pushing this, we'll recast all 3 kids.
My goodness.
And that was in the third season of an established show.
That's crazy.
And the only reason those kids got their raise was because Tim Allen stood up and said, "Excuse me, you're going to do what to my show?"
And it was his show, so he called the shots.
Now, I don't know what his reasons were, if he was protecting the kids or the show or both.
Yeah.
But he basically put a stop to that, because that's how the executives view us as actors, as performers. We're interchanged. That's how they see us. So to them, it was, we'll cast 3 other kids. And Tim, being smart, was like, no, you're going to ruin the chemistry. We've established these characters. Our fans are not going to accept that. What the hell are you thinking? So basically, he forced them to give them a raise. But that is how actors are viewed.
It's just like, and I'm sorry to cut you off here, Jeremy, but I mean, it's like Janet Hubbard. Same thing. We were just talking about her, how, she was the original Aunt Viv on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and third season, boom, she got replaced.
Oh, wow.
And, I mean, it was one of those things where it happened. It really happened. And although many people see, but that's where I don't know. Sometimes it's a risk that the executive producers take when it comes to doing that, because when the fans are so used to seeing the same person play the same character day in and day out for a long time, and then you cut them off and bring in a new character.
Yeah.
It takes time to get used to that new character, and sometimes you can't recover from that. Sometimes the show will go down in ratings because they'll be like, that character actually made the show. For example, The Ranch, when they got rid of James Masterson, he made that show hilarious as his character Rooster. Unfortunately, because of legal reasons, they had to request for his resignation to him to leave the show. But after that, the show lost its comedic luster. And it started going down. That's the reason why it only lasted 2 more seasons after that before it was done. It just wasn't the same without that character Rooster anymore. So it's a difficult decision when it comes to that. But it's again, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Will Smith carried the show pretty well, along with James Avery and Alfonso Ribeiro and the rest of the cast, that they were able to recover from that change. And they even commented on it in the Fresh Prince reunion, how they were consistently breaking the fourth wall. So bringing in the audience into the running joke, as they would say it, really made a difference in that transition. Because they actually made a comment about it when Janet was left the show, about how Jazz came in and he looked at the new ad baby. He was like, you know what, Ms. Banks, there's something different about you. Yeah. And then they focused on Will's expression on his face, and he just looked at the camera like, yeah.
Well,
that's funny.
And it was actually a really brilliant move on their part. I'll tell you, there's only one other show that went that specific with breaking the fourth wall on that type of thing, and it's Roseanne.
Oh wow!
When Lacey Goranson left Roseanne and left her part as Becky because she wanted to go to college and pursue her academics, they made a very big deal about it being a new Becky. And they had a running joke about it for quite a long time. And they even did an episode, I believe 2 years later, where they brought Lacey Goranson back and had the two of them walking in and out of the room as Becky at different times, just screwing with people. And it helped the fans adjust to the transition. It was a brilliant move on the producer's part when they had to do that. Now, given it was different from Janet's situation in that Lacey chose to leave.
Yeah, right. It's definitely a risk, but I mean, going back to music, I mean, it's difficult for musicians to be interchangeable. That's something you can't do.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's weird. It's weird because it's we have that similar thing where it's kind of like, well, if you don't go along with this, there are thousands of girls or, whatever, guys, whatever, behind you that will do literally whatever we want. And sometimes if you don't comply with what they want, they will literally rip your whatever, your look, your actual songs. They'll just like reword them and stuff and whatever for another artist who's willing to do certain things that you're not willing to do. So we have that. It's just that, it's like that. We have a little bit more power in terms of our choice to like, I don't even know about that. I mean, I guess anybody could walk away from anything, but there may be more routes. There might be more ways to get around it in the music industry. I kind of feel like, because with like TV and film, it's an even smaller pool. Seems like. I don't know.
I think my point was more that it's not that we can't walk away. Of course we could. But, and again, I know that they can always find someone else who can sing or someone else who can play that instrument. But if you have a song that's going to change the world, that they hear and they know, my God, this is going to touch people all over, that's a certain amount of power.
Yes. Definitely.
And that's always important to actually have.
So it's a little easier. It's a little bit easier in that respect, for sure.
So Amanda, I wanted to ask you, going back to the lyrics of No More, actually, it seems like these lyrics are a little bit intimate, very intimate. What inspired you in writing the lyrics to No More?
Okay, so this song again was channeled. Really, I was in the studio after a shoot. I'm with Alvin Anthony, who's the producer of the record, and we were just vibing out on the Steinway, and it was all just kind of pouring out. Also on the record is RG, producer RG, and then a great songwriter, Jonathan Bluth, who's like freaking wonderful. And I don't know, I just had these like all of the 3D stuff and like just for me, like the trivialization of our world, it pains me. I don't know how I can really like explain it quickly and easily. I just was in the booth and I was just feeling like our society has just become based in triviality, and that's not who we are. Like almost like songs that just make your head bop mean more than the songs that change your life. And it feels like that's happening in every aspect of our lives at that point. This is before COVID, like this is before anything. And I was just feeling like there really are massive shifts that we need to make in the world, but everybody's like stuck in this little 3D game, and they're stuck. We're all stuck on this little hamster wheel, and we're just like running in circles. And what I really want is this space of connection and like intimacy with one another as beings, as spiritual beings on this planet, you know, and that connection that is divine, rather than, oh, look at my shoes, look at, you know, this is
superficial.
Yeah, and it's not to be whatever. It's just I feel like that's where our society has been sitting. Like it's just like, oh yeah, let me bop my head. Like, don't give me that song that's going to make me cry, because I don't want to even acknowledge my own feelings. And we have so much stuff that's just pushed under the rug. Like, we talk about like what's happening to women all over the world and children all over the world. And that's in addition to like all of, obviously, like whatever, racial issues, discrimination with LGBTQ, like whatever. Like there are certain countries where you can't even be outwardly gay because you'll be persecuted. There are countries where you get persecuted for being a Christian. There's so many of these like horrifying things, and we're in this incredible world where we have all the capabilities of modern science, where we can like feed, clothe, house every single person on earth out of love, not with like totalitarianism, but just pure love. And it pains me that like everyone is just preoccupied with like the immediate instant gratification of what's happening, you know, in this next hour, like, or let me take my clothes off in this video so that I can get that check, you know, or let me go to this party so I can be seen at this party, not so I can actually let loose and have fun, because God forbid I embarrass myself.
Oh, like, God, thank you for saying that.
Yeah, it just feels like we're in this trivial little Truman Show, you know, and now we have what's going on with the pandemic and everything. it's like all of that to me is still like a farce for all of what's really, really plaguing humanity as a whole. And that's just, I feel like it's our almost our consistent feeling of separation from that universal creative force. Like some people are like tapping into it, and then others are walking around with blinders on, and it's not anyone's fault, but I feel like we need to choose to opt in to one another. And it's like, I don't want that literal physical feeling. You know, I want sexual healing. And it's not even like, it's like not just about our bodies, but it's even with like love making and like sex, like in this world, people have gotten to a point where it's like, let me get on my app and find someone to, and it's like, that's not even going to give you that's not going to bring you to ecstasy even. Like, it's not about like judging. It's just like, we should want something deeper as a planet. And it hurts. It literally like hurts me. Like, it hurts me to see that we are like living on this, like, oh, I'm told what is happening from my Apple alert. This is what's happening today. I'm going to go with this narrative today, and I'm going to drink my smoothie. I'm going to go to the gym, and then I'm going to go and like not dance at the club. And I'm going to meet some guy that I pretend I don't care about. And like, just even with the music industry, it's like people used to want to like change the world. And there's so much suffering. Like, even if you think, like, I always like go back to this, there's like, every single day, 20,000 kids die of starvation just because they're born in a country where there's this illusion of scarcity of food. But like, specifically, even if you go to Africa, the most oh my gosh, they have more natural resources than like any continent in the world. I mean, I'm not a geographer, but I think it's safe to say they have so many natural resources, gold and diamonds, and you've got kids that are like suffering, like, and then we're all out here like, oh, let me go. And don't get me wrong, I love shopping and I love I love just spending time with my friends and people I love, but it's like, oh, let me just go and show this girl up at the restaurant. Like, it's just like silly to me. Or like, oh, let me make this hot record so I can make money. Like,
you know, do you mind, because you're really touching on something that like I was thinking about the other day when I was watching Saturday Night Live, and because I just want your opinion as an artist, and not to like hate on these women who or some of these artists I see coming up who are very successful, who are profiting off of I feel off of what you're talking about right now, because you could go a different route and want a spiritual transformation, which it sounds like what you're saying, or you can profit off of where people are as far as
status quo. Yeah.
Right, the status quo. So when I think of that, okay, two artists, they're not singers, but they're rappers who come to mind who are very popular right now. Super successful, and I'm not hating on them.
Yes.
I'm from a different generation though, okay? So one of them is Megan Thee Stallion, and the other one is Cardi B. Now, I will bop my head and play a Cardi B song.
Yeah,
I won't play it around my little nieces and stuff because Cardi's I'm a little bit conservative. Some of the stuff she says sometimes is a little bit too much, you know, even for me. I'm just going to keep it real. And, but, you know, and then Megan, some of the stuff she says sometimes, I think she's a gorgeous woman. It's a little bit too much for me. You know what I mean? It just is. But what do you think about their success? And what do you think about them? I just would like to know.
Well, it's like, again, like, yeah, I'll bop my head to it. I don't want to create music in that lane because it's just not who I am. I know a few things about their backstories that I won't say right now. Okay. But it's, you know, if you opt into the matrix, especially as a Black female, that's what we're expected to do.
Yep.
That is what we are expected to do as Black females. If I have been, and I don't even know if I should be saying this, but as a Black artist, I have had some of the top people in this industry telling me, Amanda, you know, don't we're just going to say that you're not, we're just going to say you're like, you know, whatever, and trying to get me to disown my race. Wow. Because I'm a soulful pop R&B singer.
Wow.
And if I want to go down that lane that's in that pop category, which I'm not a pop singer, you know, I'm a pop artist, but I'm a soul R&B singer, then I have to then disown my race. Otherwise, I'm urban. If I'm Black, I'm urban, and I have to dirty up my, like, it's really, really, really painful. So it's like, you know, I get it. That's their thing. I also happen to know that for certain people, it's literally not about music. They literally couldn't care less. And certain people have gotten there by literally not from their music. With you know,
they've gotten there by other questionable aspects.
Well, you know, they want to play the game. It really comes down to the people who are controlling these companies, you know, and the messages that they want to send into the you know, the sphere, you know. And for me, it's like I want us to transcend all of this. Right. Just, it's all a beautiful part of life. Like, everything is, you know, but I feel like we're out of balance. I guess that's the best way I could say it. And it hurts my soul. It hurts my soul to sit there in an office with somebody telling me that as I was extremely racially, physically, and other ways abused my entire childhood, had nothing. And the only thing that got me through was my music. And I had to finally learn to love every part of myself, the parts I was trained to hate by people in my own family who were like horrific racists. Like, you know, and it's like, if I'm going to be forced now to, like, there's nothing that's going to get me to disown my race. But at the same time, I'm not going to degrade our you know, female sisters, and I'm not going to degrade our race for anything. And I think that, but it's very easy, you know. But for me, I never had anything. So I don't really need anything. I've always made beauty out of nothing. So I don't need the material things. Obviously, I love shoes. You know, they're really good, and it's important for me to get to that level where, you know, I can take care of my mom, and I can be there for the people I care about, and, you know, whatever, and have my foundations and everything like that. But I want to do work in the world for, like, kids and for, like, women and everything. And I can't do that if I sell my soul. Like, I just can't. I'm not saying, but I'm not judging anyone else. That's what they feel their purpose is. Like, that's what they're going to do. And, you know, I'll listen to the music, and, like, yeah, like, there's so many different forms of female empowerment. So it's not even like that, but it's just, I know what the motives are of a lot of these people who are pushing artists in certain directions. And it's so sad to see us get used in that way. Right. Because it's nefarious. It's not about just because they think it'll sell. Because and there's also this other motive that has nothing to do with color. It's all about control. So it's like, I'd rather have 10 mediocre artists on my company. I have a producer very high up. He's white, but he's Black on the inside. And he told me about this meeting that they had over Grammy weekend back in the early 2000s, where executives were like, we're sick and tired of M's running the charts, and we need to whitewash this. And literally, they decided to put in white artists to mimic Black artists, to water down Black music, because there were so many Black artists, for some reason, when they're, you know, enabled and supported in doing what they're here for, like a Michael or a Prince or a Whitney, they end up taking over the charts and taking over the companies. And then there was another side that even affects the white artists, so like every color. But it's like, well, we need to have 10 mediocre artists instead of one crazy powerful artist. Because if you have 10 mediocre who are each pulling $1 million versus one super powerful who's pulling 10 million, and the one decides to walk away with the 10 million, you have nothing. But if you have 10 mediocre and one walks away, then you still have $9 million left. Like, so it's about control, you know, and these companies, it's all about corporations. Like, it's not even, corporations run our whole planet. Like, and that's the sad part, is that I feel like everyone is completely trapped in that. Even with people supposedly developing awareness about stuff in the past year, I feel like we've completely missed the mark, because it's so much bigger than everyone understand. Like, you know, that we're fed this information, but the information that we're fed is coming from the people who are like the biggest perpetrators of pain and like suffering on humanity. It's like, I don't mean to laugh, but it's just like, it's and sad. That's what No More is. No More isn't even about, it's even like the parts of it that are about like sexual healing. It's like connecting in that way. That's like, because for me, when you're with somebody like that, you can transcend like reality. Like, it just feels, totally. It takes you to another place. But with No More, it's like, you know, mad at the way the world is, sick and tired of this feeling. We're so damn happy when we're miserable. And ain't that the truth, y'all? Like, on a different frequency. Need somebody needing me. I want some physical sexual healing, not that literal typical feeling. No more.
I hear you, girl. Preach.
No more. You know, and then if everybody knew the truth. Oh, and I have this section that's like, can we disappear for a minute? Get lost down deeper in it. Can't compromise on what I like, won't wait no more, you know? And if everybody knew the truth, I'm somebody needing you. Could we focus on this, could I trust you with the information? I have two different lyrics I could say. Don't leave me waiting, I'm on overdrive. You feel it, right? You know, and it goes back to that, I want that sexual healing, not that literal typical feeling. And I think it does come down to that too, because like in meaningful relationships, you know, we can transcend our own expectations. Like I feel like people do need one another. I don't feel like
Absolutely.
I don't feel like we should be in our own little bubbles. Like
even though we are in a bubble, even though we are currently in a bubble. But
and that's, you know, it's like, but I saw the people in the streets, but the pain is coming from something even more than what our narrative is, because it's just deep seated. When you have 40 million women and children currently being trafficked around the world as slaves, and we are completely oblivious every single day, we know that we have a problem. Like, there's a problem in this world.
Right.
And those are like the real numbers. Like 40 million slaves in 2020.
That's insane.
And it's just like painful, you know?
I mean,
and I think I'm running my mouth so much. I'm so sorry.
Hey, man.
These are real questions, though. It's hard to just like.
It's you know, this is one of the many reasons why I love having you on your show, because on my show, because to be on our show, because at the end of the day, you always have. I mean, we get into your art. But your art is derived by things that you're, again, what Jeremy said earlier, are passionate about. Like, you have real emotion in everything that you write, in all your music that you do. So it's not something that, you know, that you're rambling about. It's something that you're expressing. and you're very passionate about it.
And it's not to be like, oh, I'm passionate. Like, it's just honestly, if I didn't have music, I'd be dead. Like, I would literally be dead. I would literally not be here. And at the same time, it's the only place where I can really say what I feel and what needs to be said. And it's like, I'm also an empath, so I pick up a lot that goes, this everything is made up of vibrations, you know? And we all know that now. Like, scientifically, our entire universe is based on sound and vibrations. And it's like, it's here whether we can, like, these frequencies are here whether or not we tap into them and whether or not we choose to identify them. They're here, you know? But for me, it's like my receptors are always open. And I choose to be that way because I don't want to turn off. I don't want to disconnect. I feel like a lot of the reason why society is disconnecting, or like so many people are disconnected, is because it's so painful to be fully present with what levels of what levels of pain exist in the world, and then it comes out in other ways at the same time. But I feel like it's our job, though, to transmute it all, you know, and it's our job to be connected and to transmute it and transcend it, especially as artists. Like, I feel like that's our job.
Well,
yeah.
Well, speaking of the arts in general, I mean, are you still pursuing the acting? Because I remember that you were starting to transition from music into acting, and I mean, obviously, you're here in Los Angeles, so are you out here? I mean, I know that you're not only promoting your new single, but I mean, are you also out here to kind of get back into acting again?
You know, I've always been an actress, and I grew up on the stage, and I've always been surrounded by Tony and Emmy winners being my mentors and training me, and I've had that blessing in my life where, again, with no money, just being surrounded by some of the best who just were able to like take me under their wing. So that was freaking amazing. Now I'm working on a project that I'm really excited about. That is a reality show, but it's based around Hollywood's Acting Coach to the Stars. And I'm one of the main cast members or stars of that show. I have been, even on this trip, I've been with my director, Bobby Chance, and she just destroys me. She just like,
Bobby is hardcore. I've met her before, so.
Yeah, she just destroys me. And there are some projects coming up in film that I'm a part of that I'm very excited about, but it's never like a transition, you know. For me, it's always been simultaneous for me, acting, singing, you know, and you know, being an instrumentalist and all of that. But I had to kind of put it on freeze a little bit and develop all this music. And now that the music is enough for me to get really started, or like launch the first 3 albums, that was when it was like, okay, I can get back into the grit. Because for me, I don't do anything at less than 200%. So if I'm not training 20 hours a week at least, it's not enough for me. And it's hard to do that while you're, you know, working with all these producers and everything. But nice. I am really excited about some of these other projects for sure.
Nice. I mean, I'm happy that you're getting back into that aspect of the entertainment industry. And I mean, I've seen that you've been half and half active on social media. Have you been doing, because I haven't really seen this part of you, but I mean, have you been doing any concerts or anything like that, like on Facebook Live or Instagram Live or anything like that?
Yeah, I have an event coming up actually with the Queen's Library in December. and it's going to be a live stream. So I'm excited about that. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Is it going to be on social media, or is it going to be on a specific platform?
Yes. I'll be announcing it on my IG. It's really, really weird going from playing, opening Fashion Week in New York and LA for 5,000 people, streaming to 170 countries, and now being in this space where it's, Zoom and all of that. But I am really excited about this one. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to announce it on my platforms, and all of the content that we've shot that we were getting ready to release last year is going to be coming out this year through our new partnership. So we've been just trying to time it all out. But yeah, I'm when things are ready to move forward, I'll be posting on my IG.
Nice. Well, I mean, and in wondering about that, I mean, I always ask this question.
I know. You know what it is? It's I have so much coming that I don't want to dilute what I have to say or dilute my message. I know that everybody is posting and it's a hustle thing, but for me, everything I say is with a purpose,
Oh, of course. But I mean, the question I'm going to ask next is the question I always ask all the time: is how can people stalk you on social media?
Okay, so I'm at Instagram. I'm at Listen to Amanda, and then there's my website, listentoamanda.com, and it's Amanda Holley, Amanda Holley. And I'm excited. We're going to be having one of my records is about to get a push, Runaway. You might know a little bit about that.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Be getting pushed out there with a new label partner, which we'll be announcing soon. And I'm releasing No More as my own commentary to just help transmute some of the vibes on the planet. And that also is going to be announced on my IG. And we actually just shot the video this week. So
nice. That's really that's awesome that you're getting a lot of stuff going, Amanda. And again, wanted to express how grateful I am for you to being on the Xander Effect once again.
No, thank you guys so much. I'm sorry to sometimes I ramble.
No, not at all. That's what the show's all about. Letting yourself let your freak flag fly.
Yes, yes. Oh yeah. Well, that's me all day. You guys have such real deep questions.
Well, I mean, now I have two co-hosts that are keeping me in line right now, so they're.
And I really appreciate it. I really appreciate wanting to talk about, stuff that's under the surface. It's so awesome. You guys are amazing.
No doubt. And again, Amanda, thank you so much for being on the Xander Effect. Hopefully, when things get better, we'll be able to have a sit down with you and have you back. Yeah. I mean, I know you're going to be back on the show again. You gotta come back to the Xander Effect again.
We're gonna have we have the entire album. It's all. I have about 3 albums ready to go with hundreds of songs in the can.
Cannot wait to hear
this first album we were going to be releasing last year, literally around the time that COVID hit, and it just didn't make sense. It, as hard as it was, I mean, I put my blood, sweat, and tears into these pieces, and it's oh man, I have to wait now. But what is really cool is some of the stuff I have is stuff that you could tell is only from before COVID, footage in Times Square that's just when Times Square was Times Square, and just kind of and it's kind of interesting too how much some of the songs that I wrote at that time end up being so relevant today, even more than when I wrote them, because they were relevant to me or for basic messages, but now they're really powerful because so many people are aware of things that they weren't aware of before. So I am really excited. I'm extremely excited with sharing with you guys, and I really appreciate coming on today.
Nice. Well, we appreciate having you, and again, thank you very much, and we hope to have you on the Xander Effect very soon.
Thank you, and I'm actually looking forward to listening to your show with the three of you there.
Awesome. Well, coming up next in sports, Dana White is going to go ahead and pretty much saying that Khabib Nurmagomedov might not be retired just as yet. We'll talk a little bit about that. But first, here is Demi Lovato's I Love Me right here on the Xander Effect.
Flipping through all of these magazines, telling me who I'm supposed to be. Way too good at camouflage. Can't see what I am, I just see what I'm not. I'm guilty about everything that I eat. Feeling myself is a felony. Jedi level sabotage. Voices in my head make up my entourage. 'Cause I'm a black belt when I'm beating up on myself, but I'm an expert at giving love to somebody else. I need myself and I don't see eye to eye. Need myself and I. Oh, why do I compare myself to everyone? And I always got my finger on the self-destruct. I wonder when I love me is enough. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I wonder when I love me is enough. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Why am I always looking for a ride or die? 'Cause mine's the only heart I'm gonna have for love. After all the times I went and fucked it up. All the times I went and fucked it up. I wonder when I love me is enough. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Haters that live on the internet, live in my head should be paying rent. I'm way too good at listening. All these comments fucking up my energy. 'Cause I'm a black belt when I'm beating up on myself, but I'm an expert at giving love to somebody else. I need myself and I don't see eye to eye. Need myself and I. Oh, why do I compare myself to everyone? And I always got my finger on the self-destruct. I wonder when I love me is enough. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I wonder when I love me is enough. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Why am I always looking for a ride or die? 'Cause mine's the only heart I'm gonna have for love. After all the times I went and fucked it up. All the times I went and fucked it up. I wonder when I love me is enough. Is enough.
Listening to the Xander Effect. Oh boy.
Yeah.
First things first, I pop freaks all the honeys, dummies, playboy bunnies, those wanting money. Those the ones I like, cause they don't get Nathan but penetration. Unless it smells like sanitation. Garbage, I turn like doorknobs. Heart throb never, black and ugly as ever. However, I stay Gucci down to the socks. Rings and watch filled with rocks. And my jam knocked in your Mitsubishi. Girls pee-pee when they see me. Navajos creep me and they TP. As I lay down laws like Island Coppet. Stop it, if you think you're gonna make a profit. Don't see my ones, don't see my guns. Get it? Now tell your friends Papa hit it, then split it in two. As I flow with the Junior Mafia. I don't know what the hell's stopping ya. I'm clocking ya, Versace shade watching ya. Once the grin, I'm in, game begins. First I talk about how I dress is this, and diamond necklaces, stretch Lexuses. The sex is just immaculate. From the back I get deeper and deeper. Help you reach the climax that your man can't make. Call him, tell him you'll be home real late and sing the break. I got that good love, girl, you didn't know. I got that good love, girl, you didn't know. Sick of that song, how it's so long. Thought he worked his until I handled my biz. There I is, major pain like Damon Wayans. Low down dirty even like his brother Keenan scheming. Don't leave your girl around me, true player for real. Ask Puff Dad D. You ringing bells with bags from Chanel. Baby Benz traded in your Hyundai XL. Fully equipped CD changer with the cell. She beat me at 12. Where you at? Flipping job, playing car notes. While I'm swimming in your women like the breaststroke. Right stroke, left stroke was the best stroke. Death stroke, tongue all down the throat. Nothing left to do but send her home to you. I'm through. Can you sing the song for me, boo? I got that good love, girl, you didn't know. I got that good love, girl, you didn't know. We can cruise the world with pearls, gator boots for girls. The envy of all women, crushed linen, Cartier wristwear with diamonds in it. The finest women I love with the passion. Your man's a wimp, I get that ass a good thrashing. High fashion, flying in the all states. Sexing me while your man masturbates. Isn't this great? Your flight leaves at 8, a flight lands at 9. My game just rewinds. Lyrically, I'm supposed to represent. I'm not only a client, I'm the player president. I got that good love, girl, you didn't know. I got that good love, girl, you didn't know.
Yo, what up? This is AB.
Hey guys, this is Sean Kanan.
What's going on? It's Amanda Holley.
Hey, Jeremy Miller from Growing Pains here.
This is Maxim Model Riley Sawyer.
And you're listening.
And you're listening to the Xander Effect.
Tell me what you want. Pull up on you, hop your body in the bed.
Roll up a ting, get high with me, baby.
Roll up a ting, tell me what you want. I don't even know it, but I know I got a headache. Where you going with your badass? You got a fat ass, you should let me grab it. You make it hard to get my hands to myself. Is that your man or he just somebody? Somebody help me. Shorty, can get your body on my head. I just wanna get your body in my bed. Your body in the bed. Ready, let's go. Let's roll.
know I had to show love, cause when you make it bounce, that body gets 20 ounce of that Coca-Cola. Shake it up, then I watch it bubble like soda. You know it's over when I introduce you to the Cobra. Legs on my shoulders, body smoking like sour D. So baby girl, my guess is you a ill roller. I bet it's so good, this shit'll put me in a coma. I'ma kill it, you bout to catch it like this shit Corona. Baby, you a stoner, I got a lot of by your friends. And when you done, shorty, hang the phone up. Damn, shorty, take a pic, rich nigga shit. Hit a lick, spin it quick, give you back shots like I'm ignorant. Slide up inside you. You ain't believe me that I saw you like Riley. Call me a Elijah.
I can't wait no more. I'll take your love if you want me to. I can't wait no more. I'll take your love if you want me to. Roll up a ting, get high with me, baby.
Roll up a ting, tell me what you want.
Roll up a ting, get high with me, baby.
Roll up a ting, tell me what you
That was Riley Sawyer featuring Elijah and Young Kriga, Roll Up, right here on the Xander Effect. Again, major thanks to Amanda Holley for being on the Xander Effect once again. I mean, love having her on the show every time she shows up. And I like the fact that I was able to interview her with both of you, with you, with Jeremy and with Lonnie. You got to experience who Amanda is, because she's an incredible artist and with an incredible voice. And I mean, I'm glad I got to share this opportunity to interview her with you guys.
Hey, thanks for having us. I really, all the artists you're turning us on to. Thank you, Xander.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I mean, you know, these artists speak for themselves. Their art speaks for itself. They're very talented. They're when I say they're up and coming rising stars, I'm not bullshitting. They're up and coming rising stars. These new artists are incredible, with an incredible talent. I mean, you know, something that Jeremy doesn't know anything about, but that's okay.
You would know.
Game, set, match. Okay. But anyways, you know, that's always love. It's always love, Jeremy. It's always love. But, you know, moving forward onto in sports, Dana White is betting that Khabib will fight again. He was... in a press conference, he basically said, quote, "If I had to make a bet, and I'm a betting man, I would bet he does return." So yeah, I think he will. And this is something that that was discussed, you know, probably about maybe a couple days after Khabib Nurmagomedov made the announcement after he defeated Justin Gaethje at UFC 254, saying that he was retiring because that's a promise that he made to his mother shortly after his father had passed away from COVID. And but it seems that a few days later there was conversation basically saying that he got into the sport because of his father to begin with, and he even expressed, Khabib himself expressed, that he was very emotional that night, and he may have been a little too overzealous in announcing his retirement, and that, you know, he had made also another promise to his father that he would actually, you know, be champion, and he was a champion, but he also made a promise to his father that he would continue to be in the sport for him. In his honor, he was going to continue to fight in his honor. So there's a conflict that Khabib himself is trying to resolve here, but so far Dana, I mean, maybe Dana is privy to some information that the rest of the public isn't, and that's the fact of the matter that he already has 4 possible contenders in mind. Obviously there's 2 upcoming fights: Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier. That should be a pretty good fight, and of course there's Michael Chandler versus Tony Ferguson. Those are 4 contenders that might be facing Khabib. Now obviously honestly, I want to see the Khabib Conor fight again because, I just want to see that one. I just feel that there's still unfinished business there, in my opinion. But the other three contenders, Tony Ferguson going up against Khabib would be another really good fight as well. There was talk that Khabib was interested in fighting George St. Pierre, but that's obviously not going to happen because George is definitely retired. And there was also a little bit of a rumor going around that there might have been a match between John Jones and Khabib, but Dana just squashed that rumor and said that's just pretty much, it's not going to happen, and he said, quote, John Jones, I don't know what John Jones is doing. In other words, saying that's definitely not going to happen right now as it stands. So far, those are the four contenders to possibly go up against Khabib. And I don't know, that should be a really interesting one. What do you think, Jeremy?
I think it'd be interesting, but let's remember here, Dana White is not a saint. Dana White is not looking out for his fighter. What? Dana White is looking out for his pocketbook. Mm-hmm. So he may not have any information and is just doing all of this to constantly keep the pressure up on Khabib to continue fighting and making more money for him. So, Dana White has taken the Vince McMahon playbook and elevated it, and it's not exactly a good thing. So I don't trust most of what comes out of Dana White's mouth when he's talking about his fighters. When he's hot and he's talking honestly because he's pissed off that something happened, then I believe him. But when he's had time to think about it, I don't believe a damn word that comes out of his mouth. So
Dana White not saying anything truthful? How dare you?
When I hear him talking about his fighters and talking about this with Khabib and whatever, he may very well have some information. He obviously has more access to him than any of us do. But he also may be playing the long game and just trying to keep up the pressure on him so he can fill his pocketbook a little more. Would not shock me in the slightest either.
True.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is this just a part of the hype? You know what I mean? Just like playing on that to keep it talking all for money. Okay, he retired. Okay, he's gonna return.
True. It could be. I don't know because Khabib did say it himself too. He did say that he might have been too emotional. Those words did come out of his own mouth, that he was a little bit emotional that night in saying what he said. So he might have jumped the gun a bit. But I don't know. There hasn't been any real response yet from Khabib, whether or not he's returning or not. I was a little bit surprised that Conor was returning after he said he was retiring. But Jeremy, you have said this before, that fighters, they don't really retire. They really don't. They always have that itch to come back. Remember, you mentioned that yourself. You
never douse that fire in a fighter. You just don't. Even that's why we're seeing, Tyson and all these guys at 50 plus years old talking about wanting to get back in the ring. That's why you see John Jones talking about, I want to fight Khabib, and he may want to fight him. He'd be an idiot. Khabib would absolutely kill him, and I'd bet my house, my life, my firstborn, and pretty much anything else on it. Yep. Khabib would murder him. It would be the worst decision John Jones ever made, getting in the ring with him.
Yeah.
But he's a fighter. You're never going to be able to tell a fighter they can't fight. You're never going to be able to tell a fighter they don't have it anymore. They always have that competitive fighting spirit in them. It does not go away.
Well, I guess at this point we just have to wait for the first two fights to culminate and find out what the results are going to be from both of those. Dustin Poirier against Conor McGregor. That should be a good one for Conor coming back. So we'll see what happens there. My money, unfortunately, my money is going to be on Conor on that one. But you never know. Dustin Poirier, he's no one to He's no one to look down on, so we'll see what happens there. I mean, and then you got Michael Chandler versus Tony Ferguson. That's another one, and my money's on Tony on that one. So that could be those four could be really good. Who knows? I mean, because after those two fights, they might have to go up against one another. It could be a Conor versus Tony type of situation to meet Khabib, which would be a really good fight to see, actually. So I don't know. We just have to go ahead and wait to find out the results of those fights to see exactly who's going to face the champ, right, in the near future. Well,
what we do know is that if it does happen, he will be fighting with a lot of emotion, right?
Yes and no, because I mean, he fought with all the emotion when he fought Justin Gaethje, and he decided to retire. So him coming back, this is more of his comeback, and more of like
emotion with that.
Well, I mean, against Conor, probably, because he can't stay. He hates Conor McGregor, so there will definitely be emotion.
Conor McGregor is annoying. Of all these guys, he's the one that I know the most because his mouth. Just saying.
I mean, you and everybody else knows him because of his mouth.
Yeah.
He's like the UFC version of Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah.
That's the reason why they both, whenever they were promoting their fight and they both were talking shit to one another, was the most entertaining thing that you could ever watch on television.
Yep.
Because it was like you had both of them were mouths. They're both mouths. That's all. That's pretty much like the majority of what they are is all mouth, and they were both going off with one another. So yeah, it was funny to watch. That was definitely funny to watch. But as far as this is concerned, we're just gonna have to wait to see the results of all those fights and find out. So we'll see what happens in the near future. In other sports news, Jeremy, you had some reports about Anthony Davis.
So we have a little bit of updated news on the Anthony Davis contract situation. And as I was talking about last time, it looks even more certain that Anthony's not going anywhere. This opt-out of his contract was not a move to leave the Lakers. It was a move to get his contract situated the best he could for him. And apparently what we're looking at now is there's about 4 deals on the table, all of different lengths, different upfront bonuses, different total dollar amounts, all that kind of stuff. And all he's really doing is taking time to evaluate what's going to happen. Sure, he'll be talking to LeBron, and because one of the contracts is only 2 years. There's another one for 3. I think there's another one for 5. So it's just a matter of how long he wants to commit for. Are the Lakers going to make him the centerpiece? I'm sure these are all questions he's going to want answered, but it does not look like he's going anywhere. It really does look like it's just a matter of evaluating his different options for staying with the Lakers.
Good.
Nice. So we might have a chance at another championship.
Mm-hmm.
It looks very, very probable if most of the team comes back, and especially if AD comes back, that duo is going to be dominant for another couple of years. Yeah, I like that combination. I mean, I'm actually, that's good news right there. That's definitely good news for Laker fans. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm a Laker fan, so I mean, that's definitely good news for us. Especially since the season's going to be starting very soon. I still can't believe the season's almost starting again. We just finished it. I mean, they didn't even get a chance to go ahead and sleep before the new season. It was a highly contentious decision, and from what I've seen, the players were not very happy about it, and I guarantee it's going to come up in the next collective bargaining, because players are not thrilled that they are having to start the season again without adequate rest and recovery
time.
Right.
I was going to say that. Doesn't your body need to heal?
Oh, it absolutely does. I mean, that's something, I mean, given this isn't football, but it still takes a toll on your body after so much abuse. And, to come back just a couple months later, that not only does it throw the training schedules that these guys have built up over decades, but it screws with their bodies and again presents considerable more injury risk to them.
And their personal lives too.
Yeah,
Like,
so of course the players have no interest in it beginning right away. But of course, the people with the money, all the silver-haired white dudes, don't care about their health and want their pocketbooks to stay full. So that's how it's going to happen.
That's going to be tough for them, for their families, because I mean, you know, they want to go ahead and spend time with their families. They were in a bubble the entire time. They were gone and separated from their families for so many like weeks that, you know, the competitive nature's there, but at the same time, they're also, a lot of them are family men, and they want to spend time with their wives, their kids. Right. You know, and this takes a lot of their time away from them. So that's going to be, man, that's tough. That's really tough. And I mean, I'm also wondering, again, you touched on the injury factors. Same thing that happened currently. Yeah, it's different from the NFL because obviously the NFL is a way more contact type of sport. But still, I mean, you have these really tall dudes like jumping all the time, landing on their legs, their knees, their feet. They're consistently running. I mean, they could slip, fall, anything. I think it's going to be really tough, a really tough season for them, injury wise, because again, they didn't have enough time to rest. A lot of these players like LeBron, they're older and their bones start to mess with them a little bit here and there after many injuries. So it's going to be a tough one. And I think it's definitely going to be a tough one on them. It sucks, but I mean, again, good news on Anthony Davis. It just sucks that the season's coming too damn quick for them. So,
right.
You know, hopefully they'll be able to make it through. In other sports news, Tampa Bay Rays top prospect gets life in prison. Brandon Martin was actually a first-round draft pick for the Tampa Bay Rays back in 2011. And he unfortunately made some really bad choices. He went ahead and brutally murdered 3 people, including his own father. This is a very tragic end to a very talented player. He's 27 and he was convicted today in Riverside County. He was convicted yesterday in Riverside County he was actually going to be getting the death penalty, but they decided to give him life in prison instead. The saddest thing to hear. I mean, you have a gentleman that's 27 years old. He's got his whole life ahead of him in a sport, getting paid lots of money, and you do this. You decide to commit a triple homicide.
Wow.
I just don't understand it. I don't get it. I really don't understand it. You know, he brutally killed his 64-year-old father, his 58-year-old uncle, and his 62-year-old man. The family had hired to install an alarm to protect them from Martin to begin with. I mean, he used a black baseball bat to kill all 3 men.
Oh my goodness!
This is a very tragic and very brutal murder.
Let me walk this back for a second, because something you said, I want to correct it a little bit. I get what you're saying about, you know, him having everything in front of him and everything else, but when people have this type of mental issue, obviously he does. I mean, normal people don't murder 3 people cold-bloodedly with a bat. That has, I mean, that you're framing it in the question of, you know, rationality. This is not like, you know, oh, this first round draft pick just blew his draft position because he was out partying and smoking weed with his friends. Yeah. You know, this is not he made a bad decision. This is a very disturbed human being who reacted to something in a violent manner. This was not a choice. This is a disturbed human being who acted out. This was not a young kid who just made a mistake, like a lot of these dumbasses who, you know, blow their contracts by getting into a DUI accident, whatever dumb thing they did that was a choice. True. This is very different.
Mm-hmm.
True. You're right about that. This is something that was done by somebody that obviously had more than just mental issues, I guess you might say. There has to have been something deeper in here. I mean, to be fair, we're only getting part of the story. We don't know exactly what exactly. I mean, at least as far as I can tell, I mean, we don't know exactly where his mental state was at when he committed these murders. Because I mean, he targeted two very specific people, which is his father and his uncle. You know, and I mean, granted, there's never any reason to murder anybody. But
I don't know about that.
You're a funny guy. But us normal people, there really isn't any excuse really to murder anybody. But in this particular case, we don't know exactly what prompted this or why he did what he did. But I mean, one thing is for sure, his life is over. It's done. He's, going to serve life in prison, and that's that. He's lucky he didn't get the death penalty. But I mean, living the rest of your life in prison might as well be death.
Yeesh.
I mean, it's tough. So, tragic day for that young gentleman, and justice is served. So, it is what it is. Coming up next in video game news, GTA 5 Online gets a brand new DLC, and it involves an island. We'll talk a little bit about that. But first, here is Twism White Peace Overdose right here on the Xander Effect.
2020 Twism. Heart is throbbing, glad I met you. I'm your Robin Hood, is where I met you. Made up with you. Late night wrestling, never slept with you. More than friends, yes. More than lovers, yes. Hold me close, there is no other. I'm your rock, you're my pleasure. Overdose on you, there's nothing better. Late talks, AM walks, X on my heart, that's your mark. From the start, kisses after dark in your heart, that's my spark. You know me, stone lover, make your body weak from the way I hold you. It feels so right the way you hold me tight. Eyes open in the middle of the night. We grinding through high as fuck, just like we do. It's like we do it right. You're my passion lover, touches, kisses, neck and shoulder. Pocket bottle, empty, drunk in love. I need her. You're so wrong, it feels so right the way you hold me tight. Eyes open in the middle of the night. We grinding through high as fuck, just like we do. And it's like we do it right. You're my passion lover, touches, kisses, neck and shoulder. Pocket bottle, empty, drunk in love. I need her. Take my hand, I'll walk with you. Take my heart, it belongs to you. Hold my soul, it loves you back. Never let go, it's a love like that. Yes. So addicted, overdose. Cocaine kisses, nose to nose. You're my lover, I'm your lover. In this room, there is no other. Take my hand, I'll walk with you. Take my heart, it belongs to you. Hold my soul, it loves you back. Never let go, it's a love like that. So conflicted, no one knows. Drunk in love, I'm comatose. You're my passion, I'm your passion. In this night, our love is last. So intoxicating. Feel the waves of passion radiating. Cries of joy, sighs of love, your playtime toy, I do not judge. Amazing ways you keep for days. Trading favors, that's our way. Haters hate the way we play, but the rules we break in our love is game. Trade it for nothing. You're in my soul, I need your love. This fire inside, you know it means something. In this life, you'll need for nothing. A product of my heart's ambition to provide you all my love. Feels so wrong, it feels so right the way you hold me tight. Eyes open in the middle of the night. We grinding through high as fuck, just like we do. And it's like we do it right. You're my passion lover, touches, kisses, neck and shoulder.
yo, Sweet World, what's good with yourselves? This is your boy, Twizzle White Piece. And guess what? You're listening to that super saucy show known as The Xander Effect. So make sure you tune in, turn up, and turn out for my boy Xander. You feel me?
The Xander Effect.
You did.
Oh my God, baby, let me. I did it again, so I'm gonna let go. Oh my, baby, let me love you down. There's so many ways to love you, baby, I can break you down. There's so many ways to love ya. Got me like, oh my God, I'm so in love. I found you finally. You make me wanna say, oh, 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 oh my God. You make me wanna say, oh, 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 oh. I fell in love with Shawty when I seen her on the dance floor. She was dancing sexy, pop, pop, popping, dropping low. Never ever has a lady hit me on the first sight. This was something special. This was just like dynamite. Honey got a booty like pow, pow, pow. Honey got some boobies like wow, oh wow. Girl, you know I'm loving your style. Checking you out like, oh, she got it all. Sexy from my head to toe. And I want it all and all and all. Baby, let me love you down. There's so many ways to love you. Baby, I can break you down. There's so many ways to love ya. Got me like, oh my gosh, I'm so in love. I found you finally. You make me wanna say, oh, 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 oh my gosh. You make me wanna say, you make me wanna say, oh, 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 oh. Felt so hard for honey, out of all the girls up in the club. This one got me with this hot for one look. If I fell in love, this one's something special. This one just like dynamite. Out of sight, we fell in love with honey like my, oh my. Honey looking wonderful, fly so fly. Honey like a supermodel, my, oh my. Baby, how you do that make a grown man cry? Oh, baby, you got it all. Sexy from my head to toe. And I want it all and all and all. So honey, let me love you down. There's so many ways to love ya. Baby, I can break it down. There's so many ways to love ya. Got me like, oh my gosh, I'm so in love. I found you finally. You make me wanna say, oh, 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 oh my gosh.
this is Ariane Celeste.
This is Larry Neymar, the founder of E! Entertainment Television.
Hi, this is Maricela Cornejo.
Hey, how's it going? This is Polo Molina.
Hey, yo, what's up? This is the Xander Effect, and I am the DJ KID, the Kick the Creek. Welcome to the place to be.
Dance with me. Yeah. Tango with me. Dance with me. Yeah. Tango with me. Dance with me. Yeah. Tango with me. Dance with me. Yeah.
This is spinning like a sports car. Shanta got big lips and handlebars. Put it on Tim like a porno star. Run back the tape in the VCR.
I'm coming, baby, like the big black kahuna. I wish you would have humped me just a little sooner. Now rich, like silver spooner. Now here's the finger, now I got to move you. I wish you would have did that 2 years ago. Let me feel the body hit the skin, yo. Now you see a brother making a little dough. I really hate that mess, but I love you, yo. Love to love you, I love you, I love you. Love to love you, I love you, baby. I love you. Love to love you, I love you, baby. I love you. Love to love you.
I dream about Leolongo, make all the Luciano and girls with condo, Chanel with Gaetano. Girl, my persona, I share like Sonny Bono. Black and white keys, lay girls on my piano. Me, Missy, and Timbo, rap at any tempo. Huckleberry fan, Magoo, the South Pimple. Caught up in my lingo, B9, girl, I'm bingo. Help, I see a beetle, cool out, that's only Ringo. Missy sang a jangle as I commence the tango. Genuine riding on a pony, put Moni in the middle. Check the riddle, got your girl pants hot a little. Thinking that she dying when you only just a nickel. Take a tickle, cause your man pickle green and ridiculous. Nagging 2-0 from down south and Hickle. Black house shoes, my cane go to match. Pimp crap game, take all your scratch. Girl, I'm the P, see me on TV. DB, hook me up with your girl CC. Female, looky here, I'm Chip, you there. Let me get one kiss, just don't go tell. You so absurd, I thought you heard. If you don't know, the bird is the word. It's the bird, bird, bird. The bird is the word. The bird, bird, bird. The bird is the word.
Love to love you, I love you, I love you. Love to love you, I love you, I love to love you, I love you. Is you ain't my baby.
See, I don't stop like good dip. Sky pages hotness when you need a fix. Big girls don't cry, we take all of it. Doggy style like George in the parliament. Feel me now, see my loving got you bed struckin'. Head is stuckin', the pillowcase suckin'. Shanta still handcuffin'. Just me and you, cause I'ma rock it all night. You can go fast or slow, but I'ma tell you when you get it right.
Look at you, girl, talking trash. Now I'ma come around and swing that ass. Think you been over, backwards. Call me master. Have you saying Tim, do it faster and faster. Now I'm the man with the power. I get booty calls 15 after every hour. So don't try to take it personal. I gotta get the cash. Now you got to go. Love to love you, I love you, breathe it. Love to love you, I love you, like that. Love to love you, I love you, love you, baby. Love to love you, love to love you, I love you, love to love you, I love you, I love you. Love to love you, I love you, you, baby. Love to love you, let it ride.
That was Timbaland and Magoo's Love to Love Ya right here on the Xander Effect. I love that song, by the way. Love to Love Ya. That's one of my favorite songs from Timbaland. I gotta say, it's an oldie but a goodie. So, gotta love that one. In video game news, GTA 5 Online is getting a new DLC, and this one is a big one. It's actually called the Kaya Perico heist, and it's coming out December 15th, and it involves basically going to an island off of well, I mean, we already know that Los Santos is a huge map. It's a really big map on GTA 5, but now they added an island to the map, and I'm assuming, because there hasn't been too much details on how to get to this island, but judging from the trailer that is actually on Rockstar's social media, it seems that you can take the airport, the LSIA, Los Santos International Airport, to the island, and there you're going to be able to actually plan a heist, and again, there's not too many details as to what the heist is actually involved with, but I believe it has to do with it has to do with art, gold, and drug money that you can actually steal. And but there's a lot of things that you can actually buy. Finally, GTA is also including new weapons, which is something that a lot of players have been asking for a while now. The last update in weapons that they did was like lasers and alien type of weapons, which are pretty cool, actually. I'm not gonna lie. So that's gonna be there. There's new vehicles that are gonna be included in this new update. And the really cool part is also social spaces and in-game DJs and radio stations are also going to be added to this new DLC. But the one thing that actually stood out now, in one of the larger updates, we had the ability to buy a yacht, which I own actually in GTA 5, and that's actually a really fun thing to have. In this new update, you are able to buy a submarine. Now, this submarine, this is where you're going to plan out your heist. So, many people that have GTA currency, save it, because there's still no telling as to how much this submarine is going to cost. But if it's anything like the yacht, which, by the way, the yacht costs 10 million GTA dollars. That's a lot of money on GTA. You might want to save your money for the submarine, because we don't know how much that's going to cost. It could be 10 million. It could be more. It could be less. Who knows? I mean, Rockstar always throws surprises in left and right. So just make sure that you have enough GTA currency in order to buy this. So that's the story on that one, Lonnie. What do you know?
Hey, these days in quarantine, anything involving an island, I'm all for it. I've just watched some pictures the other day of my friend in Hawaii. The first place I want to go after this quarantine, I want to go somewhere tropical. So,
well, in this particular case, it's not exactly a tropical island per se. It's more of a kill or be killed island. So I mean, it's not your run of the mill island as far as GTA. Well, nothing in GTA 5 is run of the mill. I mean, I know that you haven't played this game, but let me tell you, it's a mimic of Los Angeles. Like, Los Santos is mimicking Los Angeles. I mean, you have your 30-mile zone. You have, which is funny because the way they have it constructed is that 30-mile zone is merged and infused with Sunset Boulevard.
Oh, wow.
The way they have it, they have the map structured. So that's actually really interesting. LSIA, Los Santos International Airport, is obviously LAX.
Right.
And then you have Vinewood is Hollywood. You have Vespucci Beach is Venice Beach. I mean,
cool.
it's really crazy. I mean, it's a really crazy map. I'm telling you, Lonnie, come to the dark side with us.
You keep telling me. I will.
You know, you'll enjoy it.
Days.
I mean, you'll enjoy it. Jeremy, I mean, what are your thoughts on the new map that they're going to be including in GTA? Have you been able to play GTA at all?
I've played GTA 5 many times, and when I first heard about the island, I mean, I have to admit, the first thing I thought is they're introducing a Jeffrey Epstein character. I mean, this is GTA we're talking about, so I was like, oh, an island. We're going to have Epstein and a plane, and I just knowing GTA, I figured that's the way they'd be going with
You wouldn't put it past them.
I wouldn't put it past them at all.
I will pass anything involving that.
Oh my God, you went there. I can't believe you went there. But that's a good way of putting it.
It's GTA. I mean, I'm sorry. It's not like they have any boundaries.
That's fair. You know what? You're right about that.
We're talking about a game where you can rape a hooker. Okay, I'm sorry. This is not a nice game.
That's true. Actually, you don't. Actually, they stopped doing that. They took that out, I think.
They did finally?
Yeah, they took that out. So I guess they're somewhat trying to like keep some morals in there somewhere.
Dear God, I hope so. But seriously, that's the only reason that came to my mind, because it's GTA. I mean, you expect them to go for the most offensive, outlandish thing they can.
I mean, you could still shoot the hooker after you used her. That's the only thing that's still there.
Oh, that game is just so disturbing. That's why that's seriously why I never got into the game. That really is the reason. I played it a few times, and it's just not me.
I love it. I mean, I'm sorry, I love that game.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're disturbed.
I'm very disturbed. Yes, and there have been times that I've actually used the hooker a couple times, and it's just like, after I use
the hooker.
Yeah, after I use the hooker, she gets out of the car, and as soon as she gets out, I pull out the gun and I shoot her in the head, and I grab the money that I gave her and I drive off.
Oh my God.
I'm like, I'll take that money back, thank you. I just like freaking take off.
Lonnie, we need to, hurry up our plan to replace him and move him out here.
I know, right?
The really screwed up part is that in order back in the Xbox 360 days, there was a glitch where you could duplicate your car. But in order to do that, you had to have a hooker in the passenger seat, trap her in the car, and then shoot her while she's in the car in order for the glitch to work.
Wow.
So we were consistent, like it was a constant thing where you would grab a hooker at a certain time, a certain hour of GTA time. And she would get in the car, you would drive her, make sure she doesn't, you have to drive calmly, because if you drive too crazy, she'll freak out and jump out the car. So you have to be calm with her, drive nice and easy. Find an alley of some kind and block her in, and you get out of the car and then you shoot her. And would disappear from the passenger seat, and so would the car. Both would disappear. And I forgot. It's way more complex where it gets a little complex after that. But that was the gist of it. It was the hooker glitch that we all called it. And but yeah, we're all disturbed. What can I say? It's a fun game.
Now I want to play these games. Every time I talk to you, it's like a new game. I'm like behind. I'm probably like 15 games behind.
See, Lonnie wants to be disturbed now. He's like, I want to shoot hookers.
It's not fun.
It actually is. It actually is a lot of fun. I mean, you travel around.
Very wild and crazy game.
Oh yeah. I mean, the only screwed up part is going up against other players that love to mess with you. You have there's a lot of trolls, trolls in that game. And there are times where you're trying to deliver products, from your businesses, and you will have players that will try to shoot your product or destroy it just to mess with you. I mean, right. I wouldn't know anything about that because I've never done anything like that myself.
Yes,
but
not.
Yeah. What are you talking about? I'm a straight A clean
You're an
player.
Asshole.
Only you and your fiance know that. Hey, you gave me the keychain that branded me that for the rest of my life.
Got that right.
Yeah, Lonnie, Jeremy and his fiance found me, a keychain that reads "You're my favorite asshole" on it.
Oh, I love it. That's perfect between the two of you.
Oh,
it couldn't have been more true.
It was hilarious. I saw it. I was like, I love this. I really, really love this. It's on my keychain. I freaking look at it. Every time I look at it, I was like, aw. It's so sweet. I love them. Anyways, that's the news in case you haven't heard it. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Xander Effect. Hopefully you all have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. I'd like to thank my two co-hosts, Mr. Jeremy Miller. Thank you so much for being here with me again.
2 days without having to talk to you. How nice.
Right. I mean, I wish I could have that vacation with me as well, but I mean, so, and of course, our wonderful co-hostess, Miss Lonnie Rivera. Thank you so much for being here as well.
Great being here. Happy weekend. Have a great weekend, you guys.
Likewise. Hopefully you guys will have a wonderful weekend. And again, I'd like to thank our guest, Miss Amanda Holley, for coming by again to the Xander Effect. Always a pleasure having her, and hopefully we'll have her here again very soon. And again, to everybody out there, we're still in a pandemic. Unfortunately, cases are on the rise. So please make sure you wear your face masks when you're out in public. Make sure you wear your gloves if you got them, goggles if you got them. Make sure you look after yourselves, not just for yourselves, but for your loved ones as well. Make sure you practice basic hygiene, wash your hands, don't touch your face. Make sure you just watch one another, because we're all in this together. And remember, music always heals all. We'll see you next time.
Yo, yeah. I was like, open them up. Sure that she's talking and open them up. If it says something, you go in the out. And then there's something it out. And then it's got, and it's part of it, something you got. Something that that's what you got. And then you got it, you got it, you go loud. And then say something, you open them out.
The Xander Effect is powered by 50/50 Global Music Inc., Sony Music The Orchard, and Bertelsmann. In association with Art 19 Media.